A night in with MauLer and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen dinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop off the cork, have a glass of wine, I'll still say I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, MauLer and the critical drinker.
Hello, everyone. Woo!
Hello.
Welcome back.
Here
It is
we
good to be back doing open bar again. We've been absent for like 2 entire years. I can't believe it.
So much has happened, dude. It's crazy.
It has, yeah. We've changed as men, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this might actually be the latest and gayestest that we've ever been doing this.
God.
What is this, like 14 minutes late? Yeah, a few of our guests had technical issues with their sound and stuff, so we basically couldn't roll it until they could actually speak.
Yeah, it wasn't our fault. It was everyone else's.
I know, yeah, for once, mine was working fine. So it was great. I was just thinking there about that intro. Like, I love how it ends and like you're just kind of nodding like this. We all end up. We've all had nights like that.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah, just slowly nodding. But yeah, how the hell is everyone doing this evening? It's great to see you all. It's great to be back. I'm actually gearing up to go to Grand Rapids with Gary tomorrow for the Comic-Con there. So, yeah, I might have to finish a little bit early tonight because I have to get up at like 5 a.m. for my flight, which is a bit of a nightmare. But never mind, we'll do our best. I'm trying to remember how we do this. I'm pretty sure at this point we reel off some information about the year of our Lords, whatever it might be for this episode. And in this case, it's 2018.
Oh no, we're in the hell years. I forgot.
Yeah, it's the bad times. We skipped 2017 because we did Halloween that year.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. You skipped the birth of TLJ. Damn.
I know. I think that might have been intentional. We'll never talk about that movie. Anyway, well, I can talk to you about what the biggest films of 2018 were in this particular order. The biggest movie of the year was Avengers Infinity War, kind of obviously. That just over $2 billion, which is a nice little sum, I would say.
How cute.
Black Panther in second place with 1.3 billion. Marvel were just having the time of their lives in 2018.
Oh yeah.
Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was in third place, just behind actually. I think there was only about 20 million in it between that and Black Panther. Yeah, Fallen Kingdom.
What a year.
Yeah, Incredibles 2. Yeah, not so much. And then Aquaman. It still boggles my mind. How did you get 1.1 billion for that?
International is the reason, right? Or was it, how did you do domestic? I can't remember.
I think it was all just Jason Momoa taking his shirt off, really.
Well,
all the thirsty housewives just went along to see it.
There you go.
But yeah, I'm afraid it's also the year that gave us The Predator, arguably the worst Predator movie ever made.
Thanks, Shane.
Yeah.
The fuck was that?
We also got Solo, a Star Wars story. The only Star Wars movie I think that's officially a bomb, lost money.
See, that year was just... There's a lot of mixed feelings, huh? Infinity War was fun.
Yeah. We also got A Wrinkle in Time, that all-time classic.
Oh, beautiful.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, a movie that I cannot remember a single fucking thing about.
Paul Rudd was in it, probably.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Speaking of movies I can't remember a single thing about, Venom came out in 2018.
Venom,
yeah, that was a thing. That was the thing that happened. We also got Mission Impossible Fallout, which, you know, on a lighter note,
banger,
rather nice. And Deadpool 2. So, in terms of games, we also got Red Dead Redemption 2, probably one of the best ever.
Yeah.
God of War, which I'm sure you appreciate.
Sweet. Yeah, all right. Gaming was we're doing okay there that year.
We also got Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh, the remaster, I think, right?
Yeah. And Astro Bot Rescue Mission. I mean, what's not to like there?
Oh,
I've still got Astro Bot actually on my PS5 waiting to go. I just haven't got around to playing it, but I am going to stream a bit of it.
Do it now.
It'll be a nice palate cleanser after Silent Hill 2.
Hey, people liked it, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun. It really is. Anyway, well, it's time to talk about stuff that's actually happening in the here and now. So for this, I believe we need our panel. We are one man down at the moment because we're still waiting for Theory to arrive, but we do have the lovely gentlemen of Mr. H and Jedi Brooks. Welcome aboard, gentlemen.
Ooh.
Nice to be
Welcome
back.
to the bar. Yeah, good to have you on board. We were chatting for quite a bit backstage while we were killing time, waiting for everyone to get ready. But I wanted to draw your attention before we really get going to some breaking news today. You guys might be aware that Amazon have been working for a while on a Tomb Raider TV show, headed up by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, everyone's favorite actress turned, what would you even call her? Writer, I guess? Showrunner, maybe? Person who doesn't really do much but gets paid a lot of money for it. Anyway, well, who's going to play Lara Croft? That's the question. I believe we may have found our answer. And it's Sophie Turner, apparently, from Game of Thrones.
They're going through it?
Are they speculating on her, or is that confirmed?
They're kind of 98% of the way there. It says here, and this is from the Hollywood Reporter, so it's not like some random publication that's, conspiracy theory time. Yeah, Sansa Stark. A woman with all the charisma of a wet paper bag.
Oh, there you go. You beat me to it. I didn't know if it was going to be a hot take, but I was going to say, never been impressed with her acting at all. So
no, she had 8 seasons. 8 seasons, and she really didn't do anything. She was the weakest of all the Starks, in my opinion, and I never really saw anything special in her performances.
I think her character is generally quite a weak character. I think that's the way she's written. She's like this innocent, naive girl who is meant to, at a certain point, transform into a femme fatale. There's that one scene where she comes down the stairs talking to Littlefinger, and she's dyed her hair darker, and she's wearing edgy clothing. And then I think the next season they just said, "Nah, she can't."
They're just like, "Nah." She went back to being a victim 5 minutes later. That whole scene is so irrelevant. It's actually awkward if you look back at it.
She's just
you can tell she's not comfortable doing it.
She sucked as Jean as well. That was the issue for me.
Yeah, I remember them casting her. I was like, "Ugh, that's such a lame." She's the Game of Thrones lady, so we'll put her. She's just stiff. No matter where I've seen her, she's been like, "No, that wasn't very."
But it's not even that as well. Lara Croft, brunette, supposed to have big tits, supposed to be athletic. She's not any of those things.
Yeah, she doesn't fit that.
She's
part.
not.
There's things also they can dye her hair, so I don't care about that. But
they can. But I mean, there's
they could dye her hair. Get super
really
into training for the role, and maybe they could do something else about that other thing.
But what about the boobs?
The physicality, I think you could fix with like MauLer says, she could put on muscle theoretically. Anyway, I mean, Alicia Vikander did it. It's just in terms of acting range and charisma to play Lara Croft.
Also her accent though, she's not a very good actor, and I don't
dye her.
I wouldn't trust her to be able to put on the stereotypical Lara Croft accent. It's quite, it's quite aristocratic, and she's not going to do that either. Is she?
There's a lot of casting choices that I find wacky sometimes. I'm like, all right, let's see them read a few lines, see what they can do. This is one where I'd be like, nah, that's all right.
We're living in a world where Colin Farrell in a fat suit is one of the greatest villains I've ever seen. So you never know anymore at this point. So I'll give her a chance. I think it's gonna be shit though. If I had to gamble on it, right?
Well, here's what they're saying, right? Tests for the role took place in October of this year, with several British actresses reportedly in the mix, including Turner. Mackenzie Davis was the lone American to make the shortlist. Emma McKay from Sex Education and Lucy Boynton from Bohemian Rhapsody was also said to have tested for the role. Amazon declined to comment, of course.
Mackenzie Davis would not make. That is right. She's the Terminator girl from Dark Fate. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, no, guys, no, all wrong. Stop. Wrong direction.
She makes Zendaya look like a model of feminine, voluptuous beauty.
The broomstick lady. Yeah, I remember her.
The lady who played Brienne in Game of Thrones. It's like, let's try her as Lara Croft. You're like, no. Look, there's plenty of women who can play Lara Croft. These are not selection.
It's kind of fascinating, really, to watch what's happened to these Game of Thrones actors, post Game of Thrones, because I feel like everyone tried to launch them as movie stars, and by and large, it did not work. I think. What was his name? the guy who played Rob probably came closest, I suppose, because he's been in
Tyrion,
some...
wouldn't you say? Dinklage? He's respected as an actor, I'd say, out of the rest of the cast.
He's again, I suppose he's got quite a niche series of roles that he can play, if you know what I mean.
True. I think every one of the Lannisters had potential. I'm a fan of all 4 of them. And we can talk until the man croaks that they're wasting Charles Dance. Like
well, yeah, but I mean, he was pretty well established already as an actor.
Was he though? Was he? I think he was
He was
well known.
It's just that, in a way, Game of Thrones actually like ruined his career in the sense that he's just been stacked with hires for playing generals and captains and whoever else who just stands in a room going, "Go there, do this."
Him and Gus. Tywin and Gus have been just their last decade of
competing for being typecast, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's not to say that Charles Dance hasn't done some good shit post Game of Thrones. It's just that you kind of wish he didn't get This happens to actors all the time, but I will say, in Brooks's defense, I think a lot of people didn't know much about Charles Dance before Game of Thrones. A lot of people.
That's where I'm getting at. It's like for someone of that talent, it's a shame that he didn't get another role to really show his potential. You know, because people will only really remember him for Tywin versus all the other things they could have.
Well, to illustrate it, when I saw him in Game of Thrones, I was like, "Oh, it's the guy from Alien 3. Cool."
Yeah. Clemens.
I'll always remember him as Benedict from Last Action Hero.
Yeah, that's fair too.
In a horrendous movie, like he really nailed it in every scene.
I think the one of the actors which came out on top in Game of Thrones, amazingly, out of all of them, was that woman that looks like she's been smashed in the face with a spade. The one
that's a lot of them.
Who?
I was going to say that doesn't narrow it down. Which
the girl in The Last of Us, right? She's a leading lady now.
Yes, I should have known. Yes, she looks. Bella Ramsey. Yeah, she actually.
She looks like
barely.
She looks like a 16th century painting of Henry VIII. But that's the best way I can describe her face.
She was only supposed to be in it for one scene, and her performance was so...
A 5-year-old had way too much Play-Doh and got asked to, sculpt their parent or something like that.
Well, I think a lot of people forgot. I think she was a car stock, and she took over for their family, and then she was killed by a troll guy, the giant guy, right?
He squished her,
yeah, he squished her.
Well,
he squished her, and then she stabbed him in the eye, and then he died.
No, she was a Mormont. She was a Mormont, and once
Mormont. Sorry,
once Jorah got the boot from Ned, she was the head of the family, even though she was young. And her performance was so good that they gave her more positions, but then they just went nuts, and suddenly she's fighting a giant, and it's like, what's going on here?
It's actually difficult to recall the exact plot line of seasons 6, 7, 8 sort of thing. How it all went.
That degree of retardation actually does something to your psyche, to the point where it scars you, and you have to try and forget it because it's damaging.
That's how I got started with this whole thing. So I'm like, the pain is so deep rooted that I can almost remember the details.
I was looking at the cast list. So if I try and narrow it down to, say, the younger actors who really got their big break with Game of Thrones, probably the best, or the one they tried to push hardest, was Emilia Clarke. They tried to slot her into a number of different roles.
Yeah.
They tried to, for some reason, they decided, she's going to be the next big action star, and you've got her appearing.
So wrong,
Terminator Genesis.
wrong.
And you didn't watch Secret Invasion, did you, Drinker?
I did not, and I'm glad about that.
That was the most painful one. That was so painful.
I disagree. Thibodeau was the most painful for me, but that's because Thibodeau means everything to me. So
in terms of her portrayal, but actually going through the season, we have to.
Secret Invasion is terrible though. Well, I was going to say it's the same thing. Drinker, you've already seen her performance in Secret Invasion because it's the same as Terminator. It's the same as what's the third one? There was a third one. Star Wars. That's
Star Wars.
Yeah. Where she's just bouncing between franchises, playing the exact same fucking character for some reason. Bland.
She's the third one, along with Gus and Tywin, where it's just such a waste.
But the thing is, at least their typecasting makes sense. You want them to play authoritative figures or intimidating villains. That makes sense. But for her, it's let's get her to play an intimidating action woman. You're like, what are you talking about? She was what?
4'6".
All right.
A hobbit.
She seems generally quite a nice person. She generally comes across quite well in interviews and stuff. So I've nothing against her. It's just she's not an action star. Find a suitable romantic comedy to put her in, or drama or something.
That's how it's always felt. But man, they kept trying to make it work. Didn't work out though. I don't even know if we're gonna see her again in the MCU.
No, I think at this point it's just like, is it you or is it the casting? You know, it'd be like it's starting to get awkward, and I feel like a lot of the people who did this casting, they don't understand what made her character work in Game of Thrones. Like, she wasn't this barbarian like Viking warrior. She was a small, tiny lady who had 3 dragons. That was the main form of her strength, and it's the contrast with her character is what really made it work.
I think she got a little bit flanderized as well in Game of Thrones. Remember season 1, the performance is way more like she's going on an arc, but when she commits to it and does the whole like Dracarys, she like never stops.
Yeah. There's a specific scene in season 5 that I'll never forget because it was the moment I realized I was done with Daenerys. It was Jon Snow and the men, everyone at Castle Black freezing their dicks off, panicking over everything, and all this crazy shit that's going on. And then it cut to Daenerys on her way to Meereen and on a horse, like in the sun, and you just got everything. You got everything made for you. At some point, she just stopped having struggle, and her story just got really, really dull. And that is at the same time Jon became one of the most interesting characters on TV. So it just kind of sucked, and they committed to that all the way. Daenerys is one of the biggest tragedies of television. She is.
The people in chat were pointing out as well the rather obvious one, Pedro Pascal. I will say though, he didn't really get his break in Game of Thrones. Like he was well established, having done Narcos.
But what do you consider a
combination? Break? A lot of people knew him from Narcos, and a lot of people knew him from. He was amazing as Oberyn. I don't want history to be rewritten on that. He had a huge impact. People loved him as Oberyn.
I think that's what blew him up the most, even if he was established before. Because that was my point with Tywin. Even if he's established, having something to really cement his legacy he missed out on. And I think Pedro, his career skyrocketed after Oberyn.
Well, what's annoying is like, you know, he's just fucking everywhere, right? Like they don't know how that happened. I guess in a way it's like a roulette wheel for a lot of these actors. They get pushed into a bunch of stuff, and if they so happen to end up in a bunch of successful things, then I guess it works out for them. But you know, look at Jon Snow or like I'm just scanning through their names, and I'm like, the rest of them, like all of them, have been in really bad projects. Unfortunately,
well, yeah, Kit Harington, yeah, he's by and large failed at stuff. Maisie Williams, they tried to do her in the New Mutants. That was a flop. And
I've never even heard anyone talk about that. This movie even exists? Like it's a myth.
I'm beginning to doubt myself now that it happened, but I remember reviewing it. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I watched that film. It's like I'm one of like a dozen people in the world that's seen it. But yeah, I guess they tried to launch her. Like, who's the guy who played Rob? It's
Richard Madden, is it?
Yeah, Madden, yeah. I mean, he was in
He's a good actor.
The Eternals, and like he's been in a few TV shows and stuff that were quite successful over in the UK. So
it almost feels incestuous, doesn't it? The crossover is like Game of Thrones, MCU, Star Wars. You move around these all. If you're a famous actor, you just get in there at some point, do something, and then leave.
Yeah, I think so. For a lot of them, I suppose it's an opportunity. Like if you do get yourself into a big Marvel movie, it's like, well, that's going to get seen by millions of people, and it's a huge boon to your career.
Surely their agents recognize it's more than being in it. It's that they need to have at least one scene that's really emotional. They can show off their range. That's got to be it, right? Like it can't just be.
You think so? But this is the thing. Like a lot of these movie projects expose the fact that a lot of these actors aren't particularly good. Like it's really easy to hide in a pack of really talented actors, and like when it's a big ensemble cast like Game of Thrones, and maybe your particular scenes only last for a few minutes per episode, and you're playing off other really good people. It's like, well, you can hide a little bit, but when you have to carry a movie by yourself, that's when it really separates the wheat from the chaff. Sadly,
agreed, 100%. Game of Thrones was like one of the best examples of that for sure.
It's so cynical. Like, oh, we're having a new Star Wars movie, and there's going to be a big armored lady. Who's big lady right now? Oh, there's big lady in Game of Thrones. We'll get her. She's famous. Like,
Captain Phasma.
There's no. There's no substantive work being done. It's all just like, ugh.
They didn't even have. This is a stupid thing. Like they could have just put a guy in that armor and just had her do the voiceover.
And
because like physically, you're not going to be able to tell the difference.
Well, story you can't either. She's barely in the movies.
She doesn't have a character. She a piece of concept art that Kathleen saw on a table and said, "I want that in the movie." I think that was the story, and she literally doesn't have a character. The only bit of character that they had was cut the part with her and Finn that she basically is a coward. And
which is kind of lame, honestly. You know, just be like, she's actually a little bit embarrassed that she's the reason Starkiller Base got destroyed. Oh, she's dead now anyway. You're like, okay.
Like,
I think that's still one of my favorite bits from your review, MauLer, where it's like you're playing the clips of Gwendolyn Christie trying to like talk about her character, and there's like literally nothing to say.
Like she tried so hard, man.
There's nothing
relate to her
say.
actions and her character. Okay.
What actions? What character? What are you talking about?
They just play a few clips of her laughing really awkwardly.
To this day, MauLer, your joke with MauLer, your joke with Finn versus Phasma in your first TLJ video is one of my favorite jokes you've ever made. Just when you just completely just told Finn, just stop it, like just enough completely. Because just when he called her a Chrome Dome, it was that moment where you realize, okay, this is for 12-year-olds. This is for 12-year-olds. Like you've just fucked everything possible, and like the movie's not even done. And like, God, that scene in particular, I'll never forget that. Perfect delivery.
I'm telling you, man. I haven't seen TLJ in so long. It feels like it would be a funny thing to go back to. You know, be like, let's with fresh eyes. I'll drag Drinker into it one day.
You did it with Smiler Al years ago in the recording, but I feel like that's something you should do like every 4 or 5 years.
He fucking lost his shit with the Leia. You guys remember how funny that was back in the day? Leia flying his face. But like, there was a whole other side to the fandom who were like tearing up watching it. How bizarre is that to create a scene that has those kinds of reactions at the same time?
They ignore gravity. The door just cuts. They just cut to her on the bed. It's one of those scenes where it's like you want to talk about just logistical consistency throughout a movie, and you want to break everything in the first 5 minutes. Like, I don't know. TLJ is a joke. I don't know how anyone ever defended it.
Anyway, we're all excited for Sophie Turner as Lara Croft.
Anyway,
that's what happens when we go off at a tangent.
Listen, trauma is what drives this podcast. All right,
pretty much.
That is true. Speaking of trauma, I was going to say as well, you guys might be aware that there was a little election held in America last week. Didn't go the way most people in Hollywood perhaps would have liked, and it's been interesting to see the reaction. I think we really need to check in on Mark Hamill because he's not posted on Twitter since November the 6th.
Like, I thought he did
gone into an official. He what? Sorry.
I thought he did do one post.
He did do one post, and it was pretty much
like,
we get the leaders we deserve, or we don't live in the country that we thought we did. Sad face.
I'm surprised he pulled himself away from doing a Darth Vader reference. Good for him.
I genuinely don't know what he's going to do with his life now. Yeah, this could be the end of his sanity. Unfortunately, he's just going to have to get by on those like $500 signed pictures that he sells of himself. I don't know if you guys ever saw that. Like, it was like conventions and stuff. You want a signed picture of Mark Hamill? It was going to be like $500. It's absurd, but
yeah. There you go, man.
But oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, when you've attached your entire personality to this Trump arrangement shit, like, what are you gonna do in the end when you completely get dominated and you can't even like be mature enough to give the man his credit? And like, if you really care about the country, then support him. It's just a bunch of childish bullshit. That's why I don't take it too seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a real repudiation of this idea of celebrity endorsements, that anyone actually cares what they have to say about this stuff. Because they shouldn't. Like, we don't need to hear from actors and artists about who your political candidate should be. You know, it's you're not qualified to have opinions on this stuff, and you shouldn't be trying to like direct people to vote a certain way. You know, for these people, they're there to entertain us. They're not there to lead us. But the reason I bring this up is because everyone's favorite actress, Rachel Zegler, decided that she was going to weigh in. Because you know how that Wicked actress kind of stole her crown as like least likable person in Hollywood, and like really took the heat off her, and kind of saved her bacon. I think in some ways, Rachel decided she was gonna claw back that title with this little number. So I find myself speechless in the midst of this. Another 4 years of hatred, leading us towards a world I do not want to live in, leading us towards a world that will be hard to raise my daughter in, leading us towards a world that will force her to have a baby she doesn't want. What? Isn't your daughter like 1 year old or something? Leading us towards a world that is fearful.
This is the thing.
Is this a hypothetical future daughter that might exist?
She doesn't even have a daughter.
Oh, okay.
What? It's kind of awkward now.
Is that true? She honestly, reading this, I was like, oh man, I guess she must have had a kid at some point.
I assume she has a kid. I just automatically assumed that. Like, can we confirm?
So what? She's arguing on behalf of a child that doesn't exist.
My hypothetical daughter
may never exist. She may never have a daughter. Who knows?
This just got even more epic. I shouldn't be this shocked, but I am. I wish she would learn how to use like capital letters. Like this is like childish stuff going on here. I'm heartbroken for my friends who awoke fear this morning, and I'm here with you to cry, to yell, to hug, to wax poetic on how the left continues to fail us in forging a new path forward. This loss should not have been, and it certainly should not have been by so many votes. I echo Ethel Kane's statement more than anything. May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace.
She didn't even capitalize Trump. It's a fucking animal. Like, who taught this child?
What a great thing to say as well, to like essentially half your potential audience for your new movie.
Have you seen the rest of it though? There's so much more.
There is, I believe, yeah, because she rounded this out on quite the statement. Hold on, I'll just see if I can.
She's legitimately insane, to be fair. I mean, she talks about hatred, and yet she's like, "Yeah, you never knew peace." Like, all right, love. Like,
is this the one where it's like, okay, that's all. Going on stage for Act 2 now, and need to get off my soapbox before I get heated. Sending love to everyone who needs it today. May we all carry each other through the worst and hold these politicians accountable. Your governors just got very important. They already were, but hey, follow your governors. Hold them accountable. Local government is where you will make real change. This is not the end, ever. I will love through these 4 years as best I can. P.S. Fuck Donald Trump.
So loving.
Yeah, it's a bit of a contradiction right there. Where's the love?
I hate people like this. Absolute moron. Like, do you not understand the writings on the wall for this kind of rhetoric? You know, like TDS was peak creative bankruptcy before it even began. And, you know, it's not like Trump just won the Electoral College. He won the popular vote as well, something which hasn't been done for 2 decades by the Republicans. It's not a small minority of people that support him. You know, the majority of people do. And at the end of the day, you're an actor. Like, you're basically a prostitute. Okay, that's basically all you are. Okay, you wear other people's skin for a living. Shut up. No one's interested in your brainlet takes. You're a moron. You're an imbecile. No one cares. And you'd think like Hollywood would get the picture by now, right? Movies aren't doing so well. Series aren't doing so well. Viewership's down. Profits are down. Something's not landing with the audience. Your ideology's not landing anymore. No one wants it, right? You can't push an agenda in a capitalist society when the capitalist society can go longer without watching your garbage than you can go without their money, right? Like, someone's got to give at a certain point. And we're seeing that at a really, really quick rate now with the video game industry. The video game industry is on its knees already because they've tried to do what the movie industry's done, but you know, you're dealing with a much smaller, narrow demographic. So they're falling on their face already. But now the movie industry it's been falling apart for quite a while, but now they're really, really feeling it. And you think these morons would understand that. You think that they'd go, yeah, okay, let's have a bit of introspection. You know, let me take a minute. Let me see why people, you know, support this guy. No. Blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever. Shut up, morons.
Yeah, it does make me wonder if maybe this time around they are going to be a bit quieter because perhaps they know that they are not as strong financially as they were 8 years ago. And it's a different world now. And people are kind of done with them and their bullshit and their pandering. And maybe they know that now. I don't know.
You say that, but did you not see that Mark Ruffalo literally broke down in tears recently? And also with some other actors were like trying to lead some weird like troop of people out in the open.
But they seem so much more desperate this time. They're not actually getting the same type of reactions they had the first time around. Now it's kind of just, you know, it's a smaller window of people and they're not getting the same type of attention. And once you don't get attention for it is when you stop. It's just like children, right?
I think maybe like at a certain point they might have to reckon with the reality that they are not in touch with the rest of the country, I suppose, or the rest of the world. And maybe their echo chamber is so small that like it's excluded everything else. And yeah, I think awards season will be interesting. I think that will be the the sign, I suppose, on what their take is, because that's generally where they all download the latest update on how they should think and feel about everything, Oscars and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see what they say there. Yeah. But yeah, that's the wonderful world of Hollywood for us, I suppose.
Well, you think Disney would get a handle on this woman, right? Like, that movie has a budget of over $300 million now. You'd think they'd get a handle on her, because it's just such negative press for a movie that's going to, that she's the headline act of a movie, right? She's the headline act of Snow White. Why have they not just called her up and like, shut up? Just shut up, please.
There's something in the contracts they write with these people that it's like, you cannot aggravate the audience.
There is,
right? There's got to be.
There is stuff in contract.
It just means they don't consider what she's doing aggravating. They side with her, and until it gets to a point where it's actually affecting, bottom line of the movie.
Yeah, when they say don't aggravate people, I think they mean don't aggravate other Hollywood people, i.e., don't go against the prevailing party line that they have there. Like, if she'd tweeted out like, wow, I'm so happy that Trump got elected and I can't wait for him to become president, then that would be aggravating from their perspective, and that probably would have got her fired from every
the other
role ever.
Is it adds more evidence for Gina Carano's lawsuit against Disney as well.
That is true, yeah. If you can expose double standards, then that's a pretty good indicator, I suppose. That's still going on, isn't it? Like, that's still progressing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, she recently had there was a recent Disney motion completely like knocked back by the judge, basically, because Disney are trying to stop them going to Discovery, because obviously Discovery is where you find everything out. You find all the text messages, you find the emails, you find everything. And Disney are desperately trying to stop that, but yeah, the judge was like, no, your argument doesn't stand up. We'll move to that. That's fine. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really fun.
Yeah. Well, in the spirit of like developments in Hollywood, D23 was recently held, and that's where they've made all their big announcements for upcoming projects. And when I was sifting through the list of stuff that they've got coming up, we've got Mufasa, the Lion King prequel. We've got Toy Story 5, Zootopia 2, Lilo and Stitch again. What was the other one?
Tell them.
Yeah. Where's this other one? There was Ice Age 6. Oh God.
It's all shit. Like, what are they thinking? It's just all so shit.
It's fascinating, this idea of we're just going to keep recycling the same stuff, the same franchises, same characters, same storylines, just keep tacking bits onto it endlessly. Like, does anyone want a Mufasa prequel to The Lion King? Anyone at all? I'll wait.
It's the Hollywood conveyor belt. It's like it's constipated and now like sharting really loudly. It's all just going just splattered everywhere. It's like, what is all of this? And they're like, we don't know. We're trying to make something work.
Yeah, they're flinging shit at the wall at this point. They don't know what's going on. Like, this is just sequel madness. It's just too much. I just don't know what they're thinking when it comes to this shit. I think adaptations and spin-offs, like we just saw with the Penguin, could be the way to, like, it's a better version of what they're doing now, but just milking us, like murdering us with sequels that nobody wants is, I don't know. I would rather take a spin-off that I didn't ask for than like a sequel that is doomed to fail, because at least there could be some potential in that. I don't even know.
Well, the thing is, like, the Penguin succeeded because, not that it's a spin-off, but it's because the writers had a story they really wanted to tell. Right?
Of course.
They had a story that they wanted to tell. They took the material seriously. The thing about all these spin-offs and sequels and things that are happening now with Disney, they're also making a live-action Lilo and Stitch. Like,
yeah, that was on the list there.
It's just about money. It's not that they have anything interesting to tell. There's nothing interesting that they're trying to tell there. It's going to be the same. It'll just be the same formulaic crap that they've had, like the Ice Age movie or whatever it is. That'd be the same. It'll all be the same. There's nothing.
Toy Story 5 is a perfect example of this, right? Yeah. The first 3 Toy Story movies told a lovely, self-contained story about like the kind of loss that comes with growing up and losing people, moving on in life, but the kind of hope for like a future with someone else. That's nice, and I think it ended perfectly with Toy Story 3. 4 was just complete pointless garbage, and then 5 is just going to be more of the same. Like, and each one that they bring out just tarnishes the first 3 a little bit more and just makes the whole franchise just seem that much less meaningful.
It happens, man, because we all remember growing up and watching franchises out of order. You might, like, how many people watch Return of the Jedi before A New Hope? It just happens. And there's going to be that kid out there that watches TLJ or Rings of Power and never wants to go back and actually watch the good ones. It sucks. So yeah, it just gets to a point where how do you even, you hear this come up on a lot of podcasts. What's a Star Wars fan anymore? If someone asks you if you're a Star Wars fan, how do you even answer that? It's become so complicated because the vast majority of Star Wars is crap.
It's the Civil War kind of question. It's like, well, we're all Star Wars fans here. Yeah, but what kind of Star Wars fan are you? You know?
That's why I think Disney Star Wars is a really important distinction to be able to separate it. Because if you're a Disney Star Wars fan, are you an OT fan, a prequel? Like, it's just, yeah, it's really important.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And, well, one of the big announcements that they made was that there's going to be apparently a new Star Wars trilogy headed up by Simon Kinberg, and it's going to apparently represent episodes 10, 11, and 12. So it's going to be, in theory at least, a continuation of the Skywalker saga. Which,
why should we believe this?
Here's just as a little rundown here. Here's a list of all of the projects which they are apparently working on at the moment. The untitled Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy, an untitled Benioff and Weiss trilogy, untitled Taika Waititi movie, untitled Kevin Feige movie, untitled Josh Trank movie, untitled James Mangold movie, untitled Sean Levy movie, Rogue Squadron, untitled Lando TV show, A Droid Story, Rangers of the New Republic, New Jedi Order, Mandalorian and Grogu movie. That is actually happening. Skeleton Crew, that's coming out. Andor Season 2, Ahsoka Season 2, the Rey movie, and now the Simon Kinberg trilogy.
A reasonable person after hearing all that would be like, wow, Star Wars must be thriving. You'd be like, yeah, man.
A droid story.
I know, and I think in some way that's their intention with all of this. Like, if they just keep announcing projects, it creates this impression that Star Wars is still a thriving brand, so you can say, well, look at all the things that are in development and they're on the way. Star Wars has never been healthier. None of it actually gets made, but it doesn't matter. It just creates the idea.
Yeah, it's all about the narrative for them.
But yeah, man, I just at this point I would have to ask, like, what is the point in releasing more Star Wars movies? Because they're not going to make you money. They're going to lose you enormous amounts of money because these are expensive films to make. They're all effects heavy. You're probably going to get a big cast of actors in. They are going to cost $200-400 million to make each. They're not going to be making the kind of money that you need to turn a profit.
What do you think would be the best potential? Like, we have Andor Season 2. That might actually pull it off. It's the only hope for Star Wars anywhere. But if you were in charge, what would be the direction for Star other if you couldn't just put it on ice for 5 years? That's not an option. You have to actually
gun to my head if I had to make something.
What do you think would be the best way to bring it back? Like, what would be your goal or your?
Are we allowed to decanonize anything?
No decanonization. You got to deal with all the fuckery that we have now, and you can't just put it on ice. You actually have to. You have to fix this through writing, like House of the Dragon Season 1 type thing.
Ooh.
I think you have to leave it. You have to leave all this shit behind and move it into a different era. I think skip forward like 200 years or something and do something completely different.
That was my first thought, but then I was like, maybe we should take the challenge on and we should actually make episode 10 and do everything we can to repair and turn things and recontextualize things. Not necessarily retcon. Just start introducing some ideas like, what was that happened on Exegol? It's like, I don't know, some crazy copycat guy who called himself Palpatine. That was nuts, wasn't it? Who knows what the fuck that was? and start working from there and get a whole new cast of characters, build them up, and just flush Rey out gradually.
Get out, just slowly.
Yeah. Or, you know what? Actually, try to make her work if you could do it.
It's over.
Good luck with that.
Movies.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like it depends on what difficulty do you want to choose for this. It's like nightmare mode where you try and make Rey a good character.
We've said it years ago before TLJ. Like she needed to die. Being a martyr can fix a lot of fuckery. Look it up. Rainey's in season 2. Nobody complains about episode 9 anymore because she had a fantastic death scene. Just kill her. Killing Rey would fix so many things.
I think it would make so many people happy if you Luke Skywalkered her and like had her go through some humiliation ritual or something.
I'd have to. I would think of all the options and I'd be like, we got to get some revenge in here, okay? We got to not get some revenge.
There's actually an interesting article from the Hollywood Reporter talking about Rey and the battle over her, because you've essentially got Simon Kinberg, who's going to be working on a trilogy of movies. You've got Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, who's going to be working on a solo Rey movie. And the question seems to be, well, how do those two things interact with each other? Because it seems inconceivable at this point that you could have a new trilogy that continues the Skywalker saga and Rey isn't in it. So who gets control of her? I mean, really, for me, like if I was one of these filmmakers, I'd be fighting with the other person to not have Rey in my movie. But this is the way the Hollywood Reporter phrases it. It says, Rey, the scavenger turned Jedi, played by Daisy Ridley in the last 3 movies, is key to the franchise's next turn. Not sure she is. That potentially puts Kinberg's trilogy in development as early in its conceptual stages as it may be, on a collision course with the Rey standalone movie that's actively in the works.
Oh, no.
It's been in the works for 2 years, by the way, and the only announcements we've had is that all the writers have departed, which isn't a great start.
Really, isn't it?
Yeah. So it says, perhaps that's why Lucasfilm was receptive to Kinberg's multi-story pitch, anything to move Rey forward.
Oh my God.
But it does engender rumors in Star Wars that filmmakers are jostling for characters. Daisy Ridley herself said, I feel like the new ones are going to be so interesting. Time has passed and a lot has changed for me personally. So it'll be great to come back to someone who I know so well, but in such a different moment, whatever that means. It says here, she is the most valuable cinematic asset, in some ways maybe the only one that Star Wars has right now. One source close to the franchise tells the Hollywood Reporter. Okay. Sure, yeah. I genuinely love
I think
to see what they
I
do
think
with
George is here. Your mods are trying to reach you. I think I'm seeing.
What's that? What's that?
George?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's see if I can bring him here.
I got you, mods.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Right, hold on. I will see if I can bring him in.
I've got to go put a little dog back in a crate. Sorry.
No problem.
I'll be back in a second.
His AFK screen is pretty good, so it's all right.
Oh
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, we keep us amused. We'll just bring George in right now.
I hope she does something with those titties before her 15 minutes of fame runs out, you know?
She already has.
She's done plenty with those.
Yeah, look her up, man. Don't worry.
There's
plenty going on. Oh, yeah. There's plenty to see. And she's very well aware of it.
Yeah, man. To be hot and cool in this day and age is like just very, very rare thing.
She seems unusually grounded for an actress
in
Hollywood who's suddenly been thrust into the limelight like this. She's kind of aware of why people are so enamored with her, and she's happy to play up to it, which I respect a great deal.
In a tasteful way. Like, she's fun about it. She's not like, I don't know, it's a hard thing to pull off. How comfortable she is with her body, you know? But like, some people can do it, some people can't. She definitely can.
Oh, yeah. For sure. I'm just looking through the super chats here just while we're waiting.
She went to Hollywood with a plan B. Someone in the chat just said that's perfect.
Oh yeah. Paul Bortonowski gave us €60, so thank you very much, sir. There wasn't any text on your super chat, so I guess it was just that, but yeah, thank you for the donation, very much appreciate it.
He's just sent it now. He's just sent another one with text.
Oh, let's see what he's got here. Oh, yeah, here he says, if Arcane Season 2 ends as well as it has started, it should easily go down as a top 5 show of all time. Also, this is my first time watching the podcast live. Love your work, Drinker. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. And yeah, don't worry, we'll get onto Arcane in a second. And here's George. Now, George.
Yep.
I owe you an apology.
No,
I'd invited you to this. For some reason, I thought I'd sent you the link and it didn't. I don't know. It didn't go through or something.
No, not a problem. Not a problem.
Apologies if I missed you out.
Yeah, not a problem. I was enjoying it, listening to it. I was looking at when you were talking about sequels. I was looking all the sequels that are coming up in 25. Did you see the literal number from Mortal Kombat 2, Black Phone 2, Accountant 2, Nobody 2? I mean,
they're doing the Accountant 2.
The Accountant 2. 20
Karate. That even a hit.
He's got
Mortal Kombat might be fun.
Yeah.
I have hope for Mortal Kombat, but maybe.
Yeah, I'll slip that one in. Just come on. They know. Just do it properly. You know what we want.
Nobody was fun. I like that.
And then they got Zootopia 2, Now You See Me 3, Avatar Fire and Ash, Star Trek sequel to be determined, Quiet Place 3. It's just all sequels next year.
Is this Star Trek thing going to be like Star Trek 4, for lack of a better term? Or are they just going to go off in a completely new direction and just reset it?
I don't think Chris Pine or the others have confirmed they're coming back yet. I mean, there was that really embarrassing moment where Paramount were like, "Yeah, we're doing it. Yeah, Star Trek 4's happening." And then they interviewed Chris Pine. They were like, "What? Yeah, we didn't know this. We weren't told anything about this movie. What?" Like none of the actors were told about it, and they just announced it. It's ridiculous. Paramount's a joke. Paramount is not a company. I'm convinced Paramount is quite literally just a parody.
I agree.
Have them not for a joke, to be honest.
I mean, they hired Tatiana Maslany and Paul Giamatti for that Star Trek Academy. I was like, wow.
Good times.
Hey, Tatiana's got to work, So not got much going on otherwise.
I guess not.
I kind of want to see her get some. I want to see her get some redemption after She-Hulk because she is a talented actress.
She is.
She's likable. Yeah.
Just picks bad projects. And then
is it true that like Ryan Reynolds cut She-Hulk scenes from Deadpool?
Yeah.
And Wolverine?
I hope so. I hope it's true.
It just makes him a legend.
It does, but it was the same thing Halle Berry said he had asked her to be part of it, part of the X-Men team. But she's like, they never got a hold of me. They just forgot me.
They forgot she was cringe. They forgot her characters are cringe. You got Storm and Catwoman. It's like
I saw a couple posts about that being a joke, by the way. So I was never sure if it actually happened because someone did a snippet from a podcast where they clearly like tone is joking, but the statement is still the same. So I don't know. I couldn't tell.
Yeah. I mean, I could kind of picture it happening. Like if anyone was going to do it on any movie that it was going to happen to, it would be Deadpool and Wolverine, where it's like, yeah, okay, this is outside of the usual MCU stuff, so we kind of do things our way here. So I guess that makes sense, but yeah.
So how long do you think Rachel Zegler has left on her career? Snow White and that's it?
Yeah. If that movie flops, I think she's done.
Yeah.
I think are they not doing a sequel to that Hunger Games?
Oh no,
because that was actually successful. That made good money. To be fair,
it broke even. Didn't it just break even?
They made it for like $100 million, so it would have done actually quite good money overall.
I just remember
they make those movies amazingly for very little money. I don't really understand how, but yeah, it didn't cost that much money to make. So.
Did her wife
pretty certainly
release yet?
Confirmed they would do another one.
So yeah, 100 million to make, 350 million worldwide. It did.
Who was is it Lionsgate?
Yeah.
So they pre-sell their. They don't distribute them worldwide either. So they would have pre-sold it to other distributors as well, and then also pre-sold it because they don't have a streaming service. So they would have pre-sold it. For secondary revenue streams to other streaming platforms. So actually they would have made even more money on top of that. Quite a handsome amount. Yeah, I would have.
So she has 1 out of 4.
Yeah, because oh Christ, what was that one that Steven Spielberg one she was in?
West Side Story.
West Side Story. Yeah, that was a massive flop.
That was the one. That was the one where everyone was introduced to her being the replacement for Brie Larson as the most insufferable bitch in Hollywood. Because that's where she stamped her feet. Was like, I'm not invited to the Oscars. Why am I not invited to the Oscars? Our movie's invited to the Oscars. It's like the movie is. Yeah.
Does anyone remember being in Fury of the Gods, the Shazam sequel? Oh boy, that was great.
Right? Did you see
I'm
her,
told she was in it, but I don't remember her being in it. Like
she's like the youngest of the three witches or whatever.
Did you see her? Did you see her press tour for it? There was one. I think it was either Collider or Deadline. Again, she is the epitome of like snow woke, but the damage that she does to the companies. The reviewers like, I just saw Shazam, Fury of the Gods. I got to tell you, it's my favorite film of the year. And she looks at him. She's like, are you sure you saw the same movie? It's like, you're supposed to promote it.
I think as well, like,
bitch. I don't know what her problem is.
Well, I think, this sort of thing eventually filters through to like, talent scouts and casting directors and stuff, and even producers. Like, they will be aware that she's a controversial figure, and if you're making a movie that's just like, general audience, you want it to be just safe and family friendly, whatever. You're probably not going to want to pick her because she's going to become box office poison ultimately, because if she's got that bad of a reputation already and she's only like 23 or something, fucking hell, imagine what she'll be like 10 years from now.
And she doesn't have the talent to make up for it. It's just not worth it. What are you getting for this package other than just extra complications?
Yeah,
she's already put it out of Paddington as well, I think, if I remember rightly. So she's already been kicked from one movie since all of this stuff's kicked off fully.
Yeah, and I don't think she's got much coming up.
Y2K and Snow White, unless Y2K already came out.
I think that's December.
Yeah, so Snow White is the only thing. Like, so there's nothing beyond that, essentially.
I don't think there will be, especially how much have they didn't they reshoot it? How much is it up to now, the budget? I've heard reports that it's up to 300 million.
Yeah, it's officially listed right now as 270 million. I think it'll be more than that.
Do you guys remember the interview with Brie Larson during the Marvels, where she basically like shut the guy's question down in terms of I can't exactly remember the details, but it was basically her coming off appealing for the very first time, and then everybody just stopped shitting on her just instantly.
It was he tried to get her. He tried to basically tease something out of her about Johnny Depp being a judge at like
that was the one
Sundance or the Cannes Film Festival or something, and she's like, "Why are you asking me?"
She just shut him down.
Try to get some soundbite out of me because I'm going to say something against him. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. And it's like, okay, that's pretty good. She learned a few things clearly.
But look how quick that happened. And my whole point is like you can ruin and rebuild your reputation like that. Nobody cares about Brie Larson anymore after that. Like it's over with the Marvels thing. We know Captain Marvel was a bad idea. She knows that now. But then she had that one moment of just being like, reasonable. And now nobody shits on her. And Rachel, I don't know. It's just, I don't see her having that. Brie is older. She's going to learn from her mistakes a lot quicker than this chick is. Like, I feel like she's got a lot of years ahead of her of fuckery,
I agree, but you can't, especially telling almost 76 million people basically to fuck themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
I will say
customers
definitely out of touch.
I will say in terms of like her Brie Larson's career, I don't know if it's helped her much. Like she's probably gotten herself back to a point of neutrality where people just don't care about her at all anymore. Because if
I think that's better.
Yeah, probably I suppose. But then I'm looking at like the movies
better than hate.
Yeah, it's like what is she doing now? Not much. Like I don't think she's really got anything listed as an upcoming project.
She has the talent to do something with it. Give her a break, give her 2 years, come back and give her a really good role, and nobody will remember any of that shit. I think the fact that she has talent is a big factor here. And there's gonna be people that are like, you know what? I'll give her a second chance. For Rachel, I don't know. I don't know about her. It's not the same thing.
I do like this that came up as well from Rolando Ramirez. The She-Hulk deleted scenes were made up by Mike Zero. Ryan looked it up and found no official thing. He found it leading back to Mike Zero. Why am I not surprised?
Famous for all the wrong reasons, man.
Oh.
That's awesome. So yeah, tell us, George, are you excited for the prospect of a new Star Wars trilogy?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, it's like Rey. So they had Rey was a Palpatine, right? Then they marketed her as a Skywalker. And now she's gonna wear the robes of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm like, what the hell is Disney gonna do next? Is it gonna be like, are we gonna end up in a few years with this new trilogy? Like, it's Rey, Solo, Calrissian, Organa, the Duchess of Tatooine, Queen of Naboo, Empress of the Universe, half cousin to a Wookiee and Boba Fett. I mean,
you forgot a key part of her story. She was nothing at some point to TLJ, and then she went back to being a Skywalker. She's kind of pinballing her.
She is kind of speedrunning her way through like all the major roles that you can have in Star Wars. Like she's been like the savior
on the end at some point.
Right. Yeah. But she's like being the savior of the universe, like by the age of like 22, and now she's going to be like the Obi-Wan Kenobi mentor figure at the age of like 35 or something.
Okay,
she's not even gonna have gray hair. She's still gonna be young and hot, and they're still gonna just shove her into that fucking role.
I mean, hot's a bit of a stretch in her case, but
I think Daisy's cute. I don't think she's as ugly as people give her out, make her out to be. She's just so plain. Like she's like, like so. I really think they picked the most like gender neutral person they could possibly find, named her Rey, just did everything, just created a blank slate as much as they can, for you to project.
I'm gonna say that to a girl once. It's like, I don't think you're as ugly as they've made you out to
be. Definitely getting laid that night.
Yeah. Just not with her.
Oh, shit. I don't think she's in the same cat. Calling her cute. Yeah, that's it's like people think Grogu's cute, so I don't think she fits in the same.
I think she looks decent with minimal makeup, and I think that is a credit for anyone in Hollywood.
It is, but have you seen her run in those shows? It's like she's before Christmas. There's some weird thing in her spine. It's like.
It's called being
I know
British.
She can't close her mouth for some reason. Like she's got a problem with that. I didn't know she had spinal issues though. But
it's like we're making her out to be like Ricky Barrick or something, man. It's brutal.
I didn't think we talk about Ray's vertebrae tonight. Like that's not a thing we'd be.
Yeah. I mean, what is the last movie of the trilogy going to be? She's going to eventually be the entire Star Wars family tree. She's going to be Rey. Nobody else. 2 hours of just Rey.
She's such a mistake, man. Like, I just hope people learn from that in the future. She's just, if you're going to make a list of characters to learn from in terms of what not to do, Rey's got to be like top 5.
You say like we're not in the future of a series of horrible Rey moves. They're still going.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just blown away by this Hollywood Reporter article where we've got this insider trying to claim that she is like the biggest asset that they have left in Star Wars. Like, I think you've confused asset with liability. Like that's ultimately what she is. Like, you need to ditch her. Like, as a character, she doesn't work. You've had 3 movies to make her work, and people still don't like her. And guess what? The more you try and like build her up into this like Messiah-like figure that's going to be the savior of the entire Star Wars universe, the more people are going to dislike her.
Absolutely.
Because
the thing is, like, they've tried so desperately to make her a thing. The Force Awakens came out at a time where we didn't really have Star Wars for a really, really long time, so it did well. But then when the second one came out, people followed that trilogy not because they necessarily, some of them wanted to see where the story went, so people wanted to watch it. Some were fans, obviously. Of course, there were some fans, but there's no one giving Lucasfilm the benefit of the doubt now, and I don't think Lucasfilm are really aware that they're not, that they have such a staggering lack of self-awareness. Like, Lucasfilm has put out crap after crap after crap after crap, and then you're going to give us more movies with a fundamentally unlikable character that is just an empty space, right? You might as well just film just a paper bag floating around. I don't think they're really prepared for how bad those films are going to bomb, because no one's going to give it the benefit of the doubt like they used to. They gave again the sequel trilogy largely the benefit of the doubt. They followed through and watched the whole movies, but by the end, you look at the profit for the last movie. I mean, it was tiny. It was nothing. There
It
was
was
nothing
half the first one.
half of what The Force Awakens did.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awful. That's truly awful. It should be more, because in that time inflation has happened, variable ticket pricing has happened. It should be even more, but it's not. It's half. That's so bad. But they're not aware. They're gonna. I mean, good. More power to them. Pump them out, please. Drive your product into dirt.
Lack of self-awareness is the perfect way to describe it. Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree that for Star Wars to ever have a chance of coming back, it needs at least a 5 to 8 year break minimum with nothing?
100%. They have to stop making anything.
It's not special anymore.
The last thing was bloody The Acolyte. I mean, my God, what a pile of detritus that was.
It might be the worst show I've ever seen. I'm not even exaggerating. Like in terms of being morally frustrated, like the thinking that they think this is legit. I don't think I've ever been more frustrated with the show. Like what they did to Soul fucking pisses me off to this day.
What they did to
everything.
I think as well, like, because they seem to be hanging a lot of their hopes on the Mandalorian movie. I think they think that's going to be a much bigger deal than it actually is. Like, I think they're way overestimating the appeal of these characters to like mainstream audiences. It's one thing to have a pretty successful show on Disney Plus, where the most hardcore of Star Wars fans are going to go to see every latest piece of slop that you put out. But for general audience members to go to the movies and see it, like, it's not going to happen. Not in the numbers that they're going to need.
If they'd done a Mandalorian and Grogu movie at the end of Mandalorian season 1, good. It would have been successful. But you've had 2 subpar seasons after season 1. The hype train's gone. Like, it's dried up. They didn't know what they had. Did you remember that they didn't even have Grogu merch ready? Yeah. They legit didn't even have merch ready.
Yeah, they
were
had no
scrambling
idea
around trying to get merch ready. How incompetent is Lucasfilm, truly, that they looked at Baby Yoda, Grogu, and was like, yeah, fine, but we won't make any merch. You morons. You absolute morons.
It's been their biggest success, and it wasn't even planned. Like, this is the craziest part about Grogu. It was an accident. Freak luck.
Look at the broad story of the 3 seasons, too. It's like Mando doesn't really know what to do in life. He has baby Grogu, and then Gus turns up once per season to fall over.
Pretty much.
That's about it.
He liked
it shit
Grogu.
We had Lizzie and Jack Black. I mean, that was kind of like Star Wars.
You know, people talk about that as like the breaking point. That was the point where it was like indisputable that this is shit. Like, you can't even deny it anymore. But for me, it goes way back to season 2. It was Boba Fett's introduction when Mando literally forgot how jetpacks work and he just ran around like an idiot. I was yelling at the fucking screen. It was the moment for me. I'm like, I'm done with the show. It's like you at least had my attention, but it was for me. I'm like, this will never go anywhere. If you're gonna ignore such an important resource as this jetpack to make him fucking flop around like a fish, it's made no sense. It's that's where Mando died for me, and he's been a walking corpse for the last like 2 seasons and a half. It's crazy.
And I was told the other day that, is it true that Kathleen Kennedy's contract, it was up in October?
That was my understanding, yeah. When she renewed it, it was like an 18-month renewal, and it was supposed to expire now, basically. So if she's still there, I presume they've renewed it again behind the scenes. They just haven't made a public announcement about it.
Why would you do that? This woman.
Just move her out of there.
Every single IP Lucasfilm owns is worthless now. Like, actually worthless. Willow, gone. Done. Indiana Jones, done. No, it's gone. Star Wars,
finished.
That tit of that cash cow is dried up. It's gone. Like, what? Just fire.
She's an assassin.
Fire her. Get rid of her.
She's an assassin. Does it not? How could it not be intentional? How could it not be intentional? This was her goal.
Isn't it? Cultural vandalism.
Yeah. You can't screw up that bad, like, unless, it has to be intentional, man.
Vandalism is a kind way to put it. It's like an apocalypse.
I would just never attribute to malice what you can pin down to incompetence, and I think that's probably it in her case. They did say that apparently she wants to go out on a win. So like one movie that will be really successful so she can then leave. But you're going to be waiting a long time for that if that's the case. Because you ain't got any hits in the pipeline right now.
Well, does she have any association to Andor? Like, would she consider Andor season 2 a win if it's successful?
I mean, I'm sure she'd take credit for it, but maybe it's not high profile enough for her. Because everyone season 1 got a lot of fan reception that was like really positive, but it was very niche. for the most part.
And it was in
got a cult
post as well,
following.
almost.
It's a shame, man. The only good one nobody watched, and then like
I enjoyed it.
It's a tough
Well,
one.
I also see it as kind of like an island in terms of the way it looks, the way it is written, who's making it, how long it took, the budget. Like this all, it just feels like it's in its own little place getting made, while all the others got shoved out by the same content tube.
Completely different vision, completely different standards. It's on another level. Like from the opening scene with Andor, when he disarms those guys, lures them closer to them, and actually gets a proper disarm scene. Because a lot of the times they'll just make it seem like guns aren't ranged weapons, but how often do you get to see a good, proper disarm scene where they lure the person over, tempting them with something in their pocket, and just little details like that. I'm like, made me raise an eyebrow. And then, yeah, the entire season was fantastic, and for the performances, to just having respect for it, and just how seriously they took it. And then you go back to something like Boba Fett, and it's like, what are we fucking doing here, man? It's just polar opposites.
There needs to be some kind of like guiding oversight of all these projects to give them some sort of consistent tone and feel and stuff. Because like as you say, you end up with these wildly different shows that vary so much in terms of the aesthetics, the tone, the look and feel, the way they take certain things seriously and others they don't. There's no consistency to any of it. It's just like a bunch of completely disjointed stuff that happens to have the word Star Wars printed on it. It's the opposite of management. It's awful.
Also, I think that's what they say in that Hollywood Reporter article, don't they? They highlight again that, I think it was that article anyway, Simon Kinberg had previously pitched I think it's that article, but anyway, they bang on about
he talks about it here.
A trilogy, and then it was all scrapped for what we did get. And it's like, again, the fundamental mismanagement of Star Wars overall. You've got the biggest property, what was arguably one of the biggest properties known to man, and what you decided to do was wing it, movie to movie. What are you doing? You absolute plebs! Like, they come out with The Force Awakens, and they're just like, future plans. Don't worry about it, mate. Next director we hire, they can do whatever they like.
There's a really interesting quote in this article, actually, that I really like. It says, another source familiar with the process of making movies at Lucasfilm is more business-minded and says, Star Wars is a nostalgia-based enterprise and they're running out of ways to create nostalgia. Isn't that fucking tragic that that's their mindset about it? It's just like, what's the old stuff that other people made that we can milk for a bit more cash, and then we just repurpose and redo and then sell it on. That's all it is, and we've run out of stuff to sell on now.
What I don't get is, why don't they go back, Drinker, to the legends? I mean, there's books, there are great books they could go through.
Because they're idiots.
I mean, it's just, they're ready for them.
The theory goes, and it seems pretty believable, is the why use those books as opposed to doing really shit copies of them, and you don't have to credit any of those authors. You don't have to involve anything. It's all your own original content at that point. Loads of stuff has been copied from them, from like all the stuff Ryan talks about, because he's kind of obsessed with all of it.
Yeah,
it's amazing how they can get away with it, right? Like, just be like, it's all decanonized, but we'll take that and that and that and that. It's just like, wow, you fucking vultures.
Just before we move on here, there was a super chat that came up, and they're going to ask something of the panel here, right? This is from Buns, who says, I hope you recovered from all the shots that you took last week, Drinker. Well, I mean, it took a couple of days, but I got there. Today is my birthday. Yay. And my only wish is if the panel could sing me happy birthday, and if not, only MauLer singing would be acceptable. I don't think we should just lumber MauLer with that. I think all of us
really?
we can do it together, guys, as a team.
We have to do that. We have to pull together for Buns, okay? So I think we can do this.
All right.
You ready? Yeah. I'll count us down, right? All right, 3, 2, 1. Happy birthday to you.
Are we all out of sync?
To you.
Kind of.
Happy birthday.
Wait, what's his name?
Dear Buzz. Happy birthday to you.
Hip, hip.
There you go. Hooray! You got possibly the worst rendition of that song that's ever
terrible.
been done.
Pure pain.
But you know, we did it.
So you did recover from those shots?
It took a while. It did.
You were fucking frazzled that day, man. I remember.
Towards the end, I was pouring like smaller shots because I was like, I'm struggling to read the super chats here. I've got to take it a bit slower.
Can I ask what proof was the whiskey you were drinking that night? I'm just curious how many you had.
It was just Jack Daniels, so like 40%, just your standard. Yeah.
No, I saw your face. You were like at the 6th one. I was like, here's one more. I say, you're like, what the fuck? I had to. It was priceless.
It was good that people could see my eyes because like they were probably going off in different directions or something.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was good fun though. It's been a while since I've done like a super chat thing like that. So anyway, we talked about Star Wars and we've had all the bad stuff, but there's been good stuff going on recently, and one of those good things has been Penguin. Hooray! My worry, I suppose, with that show was like it got off to a good start, and I was enjoying the first few episodes. Is it going to stick the landing? And happily, it did. It was
kind of bullseyed it, didn't it?
I don't even think. Yeah, it nailed the landing, like slam dunk. Can't believe how effective this show was. The amount of heart, the character moments with his mom. I think his mom. Here's where I want to start this off. If I was going to ask this question, I think his mom might have stolen the show. Who do you think had the better performance? Like, she was phenomenal. Every moment she was on screen, I was just captivated. The dynamic of the relationship and then the payoff itself. I'm in love with this show. It's fantastic.
Sophia,
when it comes to good performances, it's tough to nail down one actor because, like, I think everyone brings their A game to this one.
Everybody. And Christina Milioti.
Special shout out for Kristen Milioti for being super hot,
super sexy. Is there ever been a better example of crazy sexy than that?
Oh yeah.
She just nailed it.
The many layers and nuances to her performance were absolutely incredible. Like throughout the whole show, she played many different. Like there's so many different facets to her personality. She actually went through an arc as well. Modern day, we've got a woman going through an arc. Oh my god! Modern day, a woman suddenly not just randomly strong for the sake of it, and a random Mary Sue. Also, a woman not having a happy ending. Spoiler alert. Yeah, like, all these things. Great. Yeah, good. Finally, modern day, you can actually do something. You can do good writing. It was exceptional. Absolutely brilliant show. Really good show. Loved it.
Well, I think with her performance as well, like you get her like in full on femme fatale, like mob boss mode where she's got an entire room full of like enforcers and stuff who are cowering in fear of her almost because she could just kill people at random. That's the power that she wields over them. But like in the same episode, she can be like distraught with what she's been forced to do, and like you see that there's a core of humanity still in there, and like she's a person that's mourning the life that she never got to lead, and I think that's what makes such a great dynamic in her character, and the actress just brings it across perfectly.
Nails it.
I thought it was
she's layered. She's layered.
Fascinating that we had her so interested in the ways that Penguin had fucked over so many different people that at the end there she actually forces his character out. She wants to test him to see what matters to him the most in that sequence. And the acting in that scene is phenomenal from everybody. It's what a treat, you know, when you're like, it's just pure character in that scene. Everybody at their wits' end. I even like the way they're almost like a meta thing of, you know, I used to know there was this family of birds, and there was a bigger one and a smaller one.
Oh, jeez, it's so good. It's so
when
good.
she got to the end of it, she's like, "You didn't like my story? I thought it was a good story."
Yeah, but she's like, "But I think you've got an even better one, haven't you?"
I was trying to tell my friend, like, I don't even know how many things within those last 3-4 episodes that I want him to avoid in terms of spoilers. There's so many character payoffs, so many freaking things that just worked. And the young Penguin, the kid that they kept, man, nailed it. Unbelievable casting in every way, shape, or form, and it just feels like they had a vision with this show that they stuck to, and they would not let them. And everyone said from the beginning that this show had to be great in order to succeed because nobody really cared about it. It's just a random spinoff, but it's better than the Batman. It elevates the Batman. It brings it. Yeah, it really does. It's fantastic, man. I can't praise it enough.
No, I think if you look at the Penguin in the Batman, like he wasn't a particularly interesting character. Like he was just kind of this periphery character who's just kind of almost gets knocked around by Batman. He becomes like almost comic relief at one point. Here, it's like, damn, like they just did so much with him that I never would have expected. And yeah, MauLer, when you were talking about that moment that was just pure character-driven stuff where everyone's just driven to breaking point, like Colin Farrell has to do all of that acting under like fucking layer after layer of prosthetics.
Performance of his career.
Yeah.
Well, I loved what MauLer said, because you had a lot of people who were saying, "Oh, I hate the Penguin now that he killed Vic." I'm like, "You're not understand." And then I read MauLer's tweet, and I was like, "That was the perfect answer." I mean, it was just spot on, because you saw how many people they were furious. Oh,
I didn't see the tweet. What was your take, MauLer? Curious.
Oh God.
Well, so context, I guess, is that someone put out a tweet saying, I was talking to the guys at the beginning of the show about this because I just find it fascinating. So it's in celebration of the Penguin, and he said, "I was getting tired of sympathetic villains and villains we root for. The Penguin has the guts to bring back a spineless villain that we absolutely hate. No tragic backstory, just psychotic." Which I was like, what? Like, he's not spineless, and he has a tragic backstory. What do you mean?
Yeah, they skip all that part. I don't know. It's like, what do they watch? These people.
Well, this is what I mean. It's like what a great villain that doesn't describe the villain's writing. I was like, that's confusing. I said, no tragic backstory and spineless. What the fuck show did you watch? And they said, I watched the show where Penguin would rather see his mum lose a finger than tell the truth about killing his brothers. I described that as spineless. I don't know about you. Now,
plain spineless.
This is the thing I started to figure out. I was like, I think people have very different ideas of what it means to be spineless, right? So then I wrote out a thing because I do long tweets as well, apparently. So I said, plenty of the greatest villains in fiction have a spine when it comes to doing horrible things. It's part of what makes them horrifying. The Penguin refuses to admit to having killed his family because in his world, he fought his way up to greatness against all odds for his beloved family and to provide a great, caring leader for the people. Talks about it throughout the whole season. That's like what he's aspiring to. The irony, the tragic irony, of course, is that he'll do the complete opposite of what that aspiration is to achieve that look. He'll backstab and destroy absolutely anything that gets in the way of making that a reality. Even his right-hand man, even his beloved mother. And I said the opening of the show is Oz killing Alberto for insulting the dream, right? Because he makes fun of it, and then he just fucking shoots him. The idea, like, it's so important to him.
Super impulsive.
Yeah. Well, that tells you. Sorry.
Well, I mean, you can cut everyone. This is long, so.
Well, I was just going to say, it's like that is literally a perfect example in this show of like if a person tells you who they are, then believe them, and it is because it's like right from that first scene, the show tells you everything you need to know about Oz as a character, and it gets obfuscated by like the layers of what seemed like humanity that get put on him throughout the show when he forms his friendship with Vic, when he's caring towards his mother, or at least he seems to be. He's protective of the people around him, but it's all facade. It all comes back to that first scene of like, this is my vision for myself and what I want to be, and if you get in the way of that, I'll just fucking kill you, and I won't even hesitate for a second.
So efficient. They just nail the entire thing within the one scene. Perfect monologue, the way they zoom in, everything about it.
So that that's Oswald, the Oswald Cobb that he's trying to do everything to manifest. The only thing he cares about. Admitting he killed his brothers would ruin the dream. It would have taken the tremendous villainous spine to refuse to say some words that would relieve his mother of suffering. But that's how committed he is. Like, that's what you watch in the scene. He's just absolutely stonewalling the idea that you admit to killing his brothers. It's never going to happen. And that, along with other later scenes, is what I think makes him a strong villain. I said, they spell this out. It's a quote from Sophia. She said, you would have let me do it because you don't care about her. Like, that's Sophia's realization in the scene. It's what we're supposed to gather from what he did with his mum. Oz only ultimately serves himself. He only ever saw his mum as a means to prove his own worth. That's what the final episode shows us several times explicitly. Her well-being, her preferences, they're not as important to him compared to his own self-interest. She is in her own personal hell, and she made that clear to him prior episodes. She said, if I end up a vegetable, you gotta end it for me. And he was just like, nope. Like, he wouldn't even entertain it whatsoever because, and this is what I think is so good about this, he's distraught in the hospital. Why? Because her stroke means she can't explicitly provide approval for him now. She can't say the words to him.
He cared more about that than her actual health.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's like crying and he's like, tell me I did good. tell me you're proud of me.
Oh my god, the ultimate mama's boy, man. It's so
Yeah.
fucking well constructed. But go on, yeah.
He compensates for that by having Eve dress up as his mum and then feeding her the lines to feed back to him, right? That's all he wanted. That was ultimately the main aspect. And it's exactly what it acts as proof that he succeeded in his whole world. He's his own gain is all that mattered to him, and he could do the thing that no one believed he could do, right? That he's like finally proven it, and that's that. Having spine, and that's the point of this post, is having follow through for what you believe in. And the Penguin, as far as I'm concerned, has immense, vicious, haunting, villainous follow through in the entire season. And I said best exemplified by the final conversation with Vic, where he just displays the kind of follow through we haven't seen for a mainstream villain in a long time.
I couldn't believe it, and then as it's happening, I'm like, oh my god, this makes so much sense. It's
he
just
doesn't
one
want
of the,
any weaknesses.
Nothing, and it's such an important part. And you see that subtly throughout the show, and they don't have to fucking bring too much attention to it. Just his door. The fact that his door is so armored up, the way he's, it's just crazy, like a vault. Just the way he views things, and that scene with Victor, absolutely tragic. But it was just like, within a split second, it just clicks of this is the character, this is what he would do, and they've been building it up to this moment fantastically. Because I was wondering, what are they gonna do with this, like with Victor's character, like what type of payoff are we going for? And I thought they were going for something a little bit more lighthearted, but then they remind us right away what this character is that we're dealing with. And it's just, man, I'm so happy the show's willing to commit to these things and like have some balls, man.
They did.
That's all I wanted in the show.
Don't you think it was that line that the moment happened because you had Vic say, "You're my family"?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
yes. Killed himself. Done.
Like, it was like, that's it. I can't have
done.
that.
Well, if you think about how much trouble the mum was for Penguin in terms of an asset someone can just grab and manipulate him with permanently, it's like, I just don't want another one of those.
He never wants to be in this scenario again.
I think he genuinely really liked Vic, really appreciated the relationship they had, even loved him in a sense of like a mental relationship, like really enjoyed that sort of thing. But it's just like, yeah, but I'm not letting anyone use you against me, so you gotta go.
All the scenes with them was genuine. My favorite scene would be the bathroom scene when he thought Vic was like scared to leave, as if he's holding him hostage. And you really got to see the dynamic of their relationship and how much he cared for him, how much he has to gain from being around someone like Oz and like really treating him like a family member. I believed his relationship. They had all of it set up from the beginning in terms of him losing his family and then this filling in the void. And to have him just brutally murdered like that is so fucking perfectly tragic. I love
what I kept expecting to see as well, like, because the camera was so focused on his face and his eyes when he was doing it. I expected him to have like shed a tear, having done it, but he doesn't. And you can tell, like in that moment, it's like, yeah, it didn't mean that much to him. It was just something that had to be taken care of. Yeah,
but
I thought after the bathroom scene, I thought he was going to kill him, and when he didn't, I was like, okay, he's not going to kill him by the end. So for a second, it took me by surprise. I'm like.
But you got to remember the bathroom scene is ended with him literally Vic saving his life. You know what I mean? So like they kind of just were on this roller coaster domino effect where he never really got the opportunity to really sit down and look at it. Like, what am I going to do with this guy? But in that moment of like saying that, he realized, I don't ever want this again. I don't ever want this weakness. This is a burden. As much as I respect you and care for you and like you're a good man, Vic, you got to go because I'm the king now. And like,
if Vic hadn't said my family, it wouldn't have happened. Because that's what I wondered. That for me is the tipping point.
Maybe not on the spot like that. Maybe in some way in the future he would have considered it.
Might have been an inevitability, but him referring his family was like, oh yeah, you're
that was like
now.
Okay, it's done.
And just as a sort of cherry on top, having him rob him and then
take the money. I can believe that.
Toss the ID into the water, and it just enveloped by the water, just like his family. I was like, that was cruel.
I thought he was gonna keep it, like at least keep it as like remember. This piece, but he just chucked. I'm like, holy, they committed. They fucking. It's as hard as it is to watch. It's something I just respect so much. Just commit. Take.
That's what I meant, man. It's like it tells me much more. Like the writers are on point, but like the people visualizing it as well, having Vic's face sink under the water with the history he has. Like, oh, that's fucking beautifully tragic.
Oh, yes.
With his family. I thought the season was perfect. Now that Colin Farrell has said he's ready to go back for season 2. It brings up one question. It's like, how are they going to explain where the hell Batman was? It's like the entire time everything happened, I'm like, Batman. And
Batman.
I know, but once they had the explosion in the tunnel and you had a lot of innocent people killed,
But that was the space of it from there to the end was the space of like 2 days.
Right.
So,
how are they going to do a season 2 is my point.
Well, they're not. So, well, they are, but the season 1 of the Penguin ends. We're going straight into the Batman Part 2. So, season 2 of the Penguin will be after the Batman Part 2.
Yeah, because Farrell said, as far as he knows, he hasn't read the script, but he knows there's 6 scenes involving the Penguin and Batman 2.
This is what I hope they don't misuse him like they did in the first Batman movie. I hope he's an integral part of this one and they actually do him justice, because man, you have built him up to fuck with this show. Like, do not waste that.
I don't know. I think you could also make it work if you have him be a significant element that isn't the primary villain, right? Like he's a mainstay, especially if he's getting a season 2. You don't want to have Batman destroy him or anything.
That is true. I don't want to say. Have you watched the Batman again since watching Penguin? Because it does kind of change your perspective on him. I have, and I was when you see him, it's like, hey, Oz, there he is. It's like you're almost happy to see him, and I think a slightly elevated version of his first role might be good because you don't want to overuse him to keep him, you want to keep him fresh for his own show at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm saying is like I feel like it actually helps the world a bit if Batman's dealing with a main plot line and during it requires to go to the underworld, so to speak, and the Penguin is involved in that dynamic.
Well,
as long as you do it well,
his port of call, like his port of entry to the underworld. Now he's sort of rose up with ranks, and he's Batman's already got that association with him. It kind of makes sense that he would be that entry point for information perhaps. Maybe that's what he's going to end up being, because it's kind of what he was in the first one, actually, wasn't it? An information.
Yeah, that's
he went in there to get some intel for sure. And George, you put that idea in my head. I was thinking throughout the season, did anybody I was too busy being entertained. I wasn't even thinking about Batman. And I think that's an achievement of this show, the fact that we can watch a Batman spinoff and not be like, where's Batman every episode? I wasn't thinking about his ass the entire time. It's Oz's world right now. 100%. What I did love was the ending, having the bat signal come up at the very end. Like, nice touch. Yeah. Nice touch.
That's when I think that's what it made me think. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to probably echo your point there. It's like, without that, this would probably stand up perfectly well as just a crime drama on its own. Like, it doesn't need to exist within the Batman world. It would just be a standard sort of gangster crime drama saga, and it would be okay.
I agree. It was only when I saw the bat signal then I remembered. I was like, wait a minute, you had that explosion in the penultimate episode. I'm like, where the hell was he? That's when it hit me. I thought it was perfect as a season, like as a limited season. I didn't really want a season 2. I've enjoyed it and I want more, but how are they going to do it? That's what I'm worried.
Do you feel like, I don't know if they're going to have a story? Are they doing it because of the success of it? Like, I didn't want Good Game season 2. It's just, I'm very skeptical on these things, man. If you have a story, great, but
what are you going to do?
Just because it's successful.
You're going to have the Batman in Batman 2, destroy him. He ends up in Arkham, and season 2 is him getting out. I mean, I don't know. It comes kind of reductive.
I think there's lots you could do with it, really. I mean, we talk about Hollywood being creatively bankrupt. I mean, let's not pigeonhole it as a story that is just one and done. Like you can go many places with it. If the story in the Batman Part 2 is continuing, quite nicely with his arc as the sort of king of Gotham. I mean, he's got a sort of. The Penguin can get it all, and he could lose it all, and then he can try and get it again. There's loads of avenues you could go down. I mean, really, it's as imaginative as you want to be. But they did come out and say that they don't want to do it. They acknowledge that HBO has a sense of urgency for it. They said that they want it, which obviously they're going to. But they said that they don't want to return to it unless there is a story to tell, which is good. That's everything you want to hear. Some of it might just be, fodder for people just to chew up and, not rage at the prospect of a season 2. But I don't see what has to stay as a limited series. If it's good and they do have something to tell, keep it going. We talk about there not being original things. I mean, it's not strictly original because it is, a comic adaptation, but it might as well be original in terms of how they've done it. This epic crime drama. I mean, keep it going if they can. If there's a story to tell, keep it going. I'd sooner them do this than bloody Lilo and Stitch in live action.
Yeah.
I almost want them to do what they did with the Netflix Marvel shows, where it's like they kind of exist in their own universe outside of the movie continuity. Like they acknowledge it, but like they don't intersect with each other very much. I'd be fine with that. Like, and it gives them free reign to just develop this story and this world and continue these characters without every so often having to tie it back into a movie and just have him like show up just to confirm that he exists, but not really get involved in too much because, like, well, we can't kill him because he's got to come back for the following season, and we can't like fuck up his position in the world too much because then people who've just watched the TV show won't understand why his circumstances have changed. So I don't know, man. When you've got TV, like, do TV stuff. Don't try and then integrate it with the movies. Let them do
too complicated.
I think so, yeah.
Infinity War. Why isn't half the Netflix roster helping? You know what I mean? Like, where are you guys? It's just, it makes things get a little bit tricky, and it's hard to say because the MCU is praised for its being cinematic universe, but most of the continuity sucked outside of certain movies. You know, I'm actually curious what the panel would think. Excluding like Civil War, what would you say is like the best continuity the MCU did? Because they were in their prime, they'd probably be the best example of this, right?
What are you saying? Like, what's the movie that takes advantage the most of other films having existed?
Yes, like which one actually utilized the continuity the most effective ways? Like the Captain America scenes in Homecoming, I think, was really effective. Seeing like him.
Well, I was going to say Homecoming might be my choice because they used the events of Avengers to create the Vulture. So
that'd probably be
my pick. That's interesting. It's hard to. The rest of them want to be their own thing going forward from there. You know,
I mean, probably the first Avengers movie just kind of neatly ties together with all of the previous Phase 1 films. And I think it's fine continuity wise. Like, it references the events of all of them to get them to where they are at the beginning of that film. So I guess I would go with that.
Well, let me ask you, what do you think it's been since 66 since we've had a Batman television series. Why instead of a movie wouldn't they've shown the success on Max with a Penguin? Why not just
Gary's been saying that for like 5 years. Why the fuck aren't they making a Batman show?
I mean, I think they would eat it up. Just have a Batman series, the same world.
They'd have to recast because Pattinson wouldn't do it, I don't think.
Is he that big where he's above being in a show now? I'd be more interested in the Batman season 2 show than the movie.
He's not
big. Well, by all accounts, kind of a bit reluctant to even do the movie, and he was kind of difficult to work with. So I don't think he'd be up for doing a TV show.
It'd be way, way, way too much money as well. I mean, those cars, that car was not cheap. The vehicle that they made for that movie was not cheap to make, like, at all. It's just you can't do it. You just can't do that really on the small screen. Not to today's standards. You just wouldn't be able to do it. You end up with a CW kind of trash.
Yeah, but this is the thing. You couldn't, in terms of the budgeting, you're not having big budget action scenes every single time. Most of it would be character, like detective work. Like, the best parts of the Batman is him doing detective shit. And like that, everyone praises the first like 10, 20 minutes. I love the scene.
Yeah, but then it becomes
like, looking procedural. Around. What's that third act? Like, what the hell was that, man? The Batman, definitely.
I think it's time. I think after Gary Oldman's been in Slow Horses on television, I don't think Pattinson or anybody else has any excuses not to.
Yeah. There was just a super chat that came in here. Penguin was epic. Absolutely nailed the psycho Oedipus complex. Made me rewatch the Batman and write a rant on X about the lazy cybersecurity in movies when he plugs Riddler's shitty USB drive into his home PC. What a joke. Movie convenience right there. That's the magic of film. But no, thanks for the donation, man. The other show that's sorry.
No, I was going to say, isn't Pattinson doing something, that other one where he's a clone of a clone or something? Isn't that coming out?
Mickey 17. That looks great. It's disaster. It's been delayed and delayed and delayed. It looks really good, though.
I like that he takes different roles. He's not getting stuck with the whole Twilight casting or even Batman.
Yeah,
he just does his thing.
He broke that typecasting pretty effectively. I think he did his stint in like smaller roles and stuff afterwards and like experimented a bit, and then just established himself as actually a pretty damn good actor. And then things like The Lighthouse showed that he can actually really bring it performance-wise when he needs to.
Yeah, I love The Lighthouse.
I just got a little bit distracted. Have you heard about what Dwayne The Rock Johnson said about seeing Oppenheimer?
Oh god.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That he sat in his chair in the IMAX theater. Man, seeing what was it? Red.
Well, for anyone who doesn't know, Red 1 is this new garbage fucking movie. You can tell from the poster it's gonna be shit. It's like cash in weird.
$50 million.
I'm sorry.
looks like an absolute shite film. So the quote is, I watched Oppenheimer. It was amazing, but I was thinking, holy shit, Red 1 on this screen with this technology could be game over. I remember texting director Jake Kasdan a picture of my bare chest and a picture of the screen, and we realized how cool IMAX would be.
What?
This can't be a serious quote. This cannot be.
I don't know. The man's
fucking trolling.
The man's ego's gotten out of control. I don't know what's going on. He's
like
wearing pearls and dresses now, so I don't know. He's kind of lost his mind.
Apparently, very real. This quote.
Wow.
I mean, I believe it's a real quote. I hope and believe that he's just being sarcastic or some shit like that. Like, and he's not actually this lacking in self-awareness.
Would make him think Red 1 on IMAX would be game over. Like, what are you talking about?
What's he doing, man? When's the last time he had?
What's the last hit he had?
This is the last thing he had. A respectable role that he's had, even.
I don't know. What was
probably Pain and Gain was the last time he did a role that actually stretched him.
I like from him, yeah.
I like
he is a fascinating actor where he's like the fucking McDonald's of the Hollywood industry, where it's like we've all eaten at McDonald's a whole bunch of times in our lives. Probably we never remember a single incidence of it.
Yes.
And it's like his movies, like we've all seen a bunch of his films, but we can't remember any of them because they don't have any unique qualities about them. They're just generic sludge that make lots of money, but no one gives a shit.
And what frustrates me about The Rock the most is I've been watching The Rock since I was a child from the WWF. Like I remember when he was in The Nation, you know, and it was his charisma that brought him out. He was one of the best on the mic, and he carried his whole crew, his whole faction. And I liked that about him. And he used that to go and become a movie star. And he has more talent than he's displayed in this last 10, 15 years. I've seen him. There's a movie he did with John Travolta where he played a gay gangster. And he was fun in the role. Like he was like really like he actually got to show his range. He's been doing fuck all for the last 10 years. And I don't even understand why. To the point where people think he has no talent.
You didn't love Black Adam?
Movie with A24 right now.
Horrible.
I didn't even watch that.
In an old film called Faster. I like that.
He's more of a brand than a man at
this
point. That's the thing. Where I just feel like everything he says and does is calculated to either sell you something or promote his next movie or whatever. Like I can't fault his work ethic because holy fuck, like he's about 60 years old or whatever, and he's still built like a brick shit house. He churns out about 50 movies a year. He's constantly doing stuff. It's just like you don't need to be hustling this much, man. Like you've made it already. You don't have to be like trying to make the next deal or do the next angle or whatever. Like just pick the projects that actually mean something to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your net worth is probably like $1 billion at this point. You don't need the money now. You know, pick something that's more interesting. And he just won't. He's a frustrating guy when you see what his career's trajectory has been like.
It's a waste.
The Tooth Fairy. Someone was saying, it's like I forgot he even did that.
Classic.
Like him and Henry Cavill are like two sides of the same coin, where like their careers have been wasted, but for different reasons. Like you know what I mean? Like The Rock has had all the opportunities in the world, but just no creative vision whatsoever. And then Cavill just keeps getting screwed.
I think Cavill keeps getting screwed. That's the difference.
He's getting screwed. It's such a
I wonder how he's going to do in the Voltron movie. After I was excited, and then I saw that little clip from the director, and he said that one word. Imagine Voltron. I was like, come on. You have to say the word. It's like, we're going to reimagine Voltron.
For modern audiences.
It has to be done.
When you referenced Black Adam there, though, wasn't that like a real shock for him? Because he'd had nothing but like box office successes.
He was truly a bank on his brand that he didn't win.
Yeah,
if you remember, if that had made enough money, James Gunn probably wouldn't end up with DC. It would be The Rock instead.
It was a big thing, that failing. Like he thought he was going to take over DC and like put it all on. You know, that's like his biggest public failure, probably Black Adam.
Yeah,
I would like to see that timeline though, where Black Adam made $3 billion at the box office and everyone adored it, and then he like takes over and has his own universe, the Rockverse for the.
Maybe we would actually get some good performances out of him. Maybe we would actually get something decent out of Black Adam, because I heard some of the jokes were okay.
I don't even think like the movie failing was his fault necessarily. Like I don't think he did a bad job or anything. It's just like it was another boring generic superhero movie at a time when we were just saturated by them, and like it was never going to succeed.
That movie had been in the works for over a decade. A decade.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but imagine it came out.
Look it up.
Imagine it came out 10 years earlier, like you said. Like the girls were burned death.
Brosnan and that they had bad writing. It was just it's like now you have Greta Gerwig. I know this is not on The Rock, but she's doing the C.S. Lewis, the Narnia series, and she's like, we're gonna reimagine C.S. Lewis for Netflix. You know,
everyone needs to reimagine things. They tried to reimagine Lord of the Rings for modern audiences, and that's why we got Rings of Power.
Oh yeah.
Rings, and you know I don't think they have yet to announce season 3. They're like it's coming, it's coming.
Yeah,
if they even get it, man. If they make it to season 5,
I think it'll be it. I don't think it's. I did it in the first season. This thing isn't gonna. I know they have some kind of commitment.
It'll be ego and stubbornness, just being like not wanting to admit they failed if they make it all the way. But I don't think it's going to pass.
Again, they lost half the audience after losing half the audience or 63% in season 1. I mean,
no, there was the curiosity factor in season 1. Season 2 was fucking miserable to get through. Even reviewing it was miserable. I got one left, and it's like fucking killing me. I hate that show.
Me too.
Yeah. Tell you what, I didn't hate though. Arcane.
How was season 2? I love season 1. I haven't seen 2.
Well, season 1 was fantastic. Season 2, I like it. Like it's probably not as sharp as season 1 was, and it didn't grip me in the way like the opening episode of season 1 did. But I think it's got off to a kind of a cautious start, the best way I can describe it. There's a lot of picking up the pieces from the events of season 1. And I do have worries that I was saying to MauLer, like that the season is just going to be a constant cycle of like Jinx and Vi fight each other. One of them gets the other like at gunpoint or knife point or whatever and has them at their mercy, but then they back off at the last second because they can't bring themselves to kill them, and then the cycle repeats itself. Because I just don't know where they can really go with that conflict except to keep doing that, which is a slight problem. But yeah, I'll leave it to
fucking season 1 of Arcane is like one of the best shows I've ever fucking seen, especially as someone who played League for years and went into it pretty much hating the entire cast from my history with them in the games. I hated you all. The fact that they were able to take these characters that I despise and make a fantastic show with them and get me invested. And I'm immediately realizing in season 2 that the pacing and the quality of the writing isn't on par. And my biggest, no one really ever expected season 2 to live up to season 1 because it's almost impossible. But my biggest thing is it all depended on what takeaways they had from season 1. And I don't think they realized the biggest strength of season 1 is the writing, the characters. They seem much more focused on the visuals and the overall presentation, like the amount of fights we've gotten crammed in this short amount of time. I am shocked at how poorly paced it is in terms of the amount of information they're trying to like just jam down our throats immediately. And it's just not on par with season 1 in terms of just the overall quality. And it makes me worried for the rest of the season. There's certain things that could be improved, but there's a particular character that I think they've already ruined. And I think the season has already lost its opportunity to be great. Arcane season 1 is great, like fantastic. This one is going to be good so far, and I think it's going to be character that'll bring us through it, but I think it's already lost the opportunity to be great. And that's what just upsets me, because I just feel like they're more focused on setting up the other spin-offs and other shows and whatnot than actually focusing on getting this story done. And I hate to say it, the vibe of Mando season 2 is kind of what I got. Instead of getting a proper story for Mando, we got to set up Ahsoka. We got to do all this shit. This, not. I'm getting that vibe from Arcane, and it pisses me off. So I got to be perfectly honest.
I haven't seen season 2. I love season 1. I have no idea. I haven't set aside time. I've been wanting to see. But my two favorite was season 1 of Arcane as well as Blue-Eyed Samurai.
That was, yeah, I very much enjoyed Blue-Eyed Samurai. I feel like not that many people watched it, which is a shame because that's a damn good show.
They'll get a second season.
Hi, Drake. How you doing?
Hi. Give us your thoughts on season 2.
Famously, I quite adore season 1 of Arcane. I think it's pretty great. Did many hours of going through every single scene, talking about how it's remarkable to get a show with this kind of tight level of writing and also incredible animation. Happy to report the animation is still top notch, doing amazing stuff with a combination of styles, the effort, not skimping on basically anything, expressions, backgrounds, what have you. I am cautiously mystic about the future of this season. I ain't optimistic or pessimistic. I'm somewhere in between.
Just mystic.
Yeah, whatever the word is supposed to come in for that. I've been a bit worried by this first act. I'm not as impressed at all with the writing. I think that they have slipped up quite a bit in a lot of different ways. It's pretty complicated to explain in like a stream like this. Obviously, I'll do my obsessive autistic jump into every single word that is said in the season sometime this week, I think. But the short version would just be that there's a story they're looking to tell that I think is incredibly interesting, but there's a lot of things they're skipping over fast in order to get there. I think we're getting a big old time jump for between Act 1 and 2, which is like season 1. And so by the time we reach the end of this season, the events of episode 1 are going to be in the distant past. And so it's like when they were building this, they probably needed to move through it fast. And I get that. This makes some sense. But at the same time, I feel like there's a better way to execute this story as it stands. An example would be the introduction of the Enforcer team. And it's like, okay, I'm up for that. Looks cool. And then it's like, who are these people?
It's just poof. Yeah. You compare that to the introduction of Vive, Jinx, and their crew in the beginning and how we got them fleshed out in like one fight scene. The emphasis on character is just not the same. And like for the people who are roasting me in chat right now, I enjoyed it. I just don't think it's great. I was expecting greatness, not to be just, mildly entertained.
Season 1 again.
I season 1 was great, and season 2 has been good so far. And I just think that's not me shitting on it. That's just being honest. It's not, the same level of precise quality that I noticed. And this is someone who rewatched season 1 right before, and I could notice, the difference for me. But that's just
I think when you got a particularly high benchmark, it's always going to be difficult to measure up to it. And like, I think if you do fall short, then the temptation is to say, like, it's a bit disappointing and it's not that good. But I think by normal standards, it would still be considered a pretty damn good show. It's just like we compare it to season 1. I think it's interesting when we're talking about the animation as well. There was one scene that really stood out for me as not looking great, and it's the one where Victor goes down into the lowest levels of the city, where like the people down there are afflicted by what will it be? Shimmer, yeah. And I swear it's like they had the same exact character model you duplicated like 2 or 3 times, like because they've got like a hood on and like their faces are all kind of gray from it, and they all looked exactly the same. And I was like, did you just like have one facial animation model that you just used on multiple people or what? It was weird. Like in a show that normally is absolutely on point with its animation, just that really looked weird and lazy.
Maybe I didn't notice that, but it could be true because you have to be focused on the main guy, so maybe they didn't put in the same detail on the other guys.
Yeah,
there's been a lot of discussion with Arcane fans as to the inclusion of music video portions, whether or not they are intrusive or fit right in, sort of thing. I actually think this was almost an issue in season 1. There's some like the Echo Jinx fight that are perfect in terms of how they're included, and then there's others that sort of play like they're in a set list, and you're like, oh, I guess this is happening now, which has different effects on different audience members. But in this season, I think I've seen a lot of complaints about it. Like, I don't like how music video-y Arcane has become as opposed to storytelling boosted by music. I'm not sure where I stand on that yet. There's a lot I haven't figured out yet in terms of how I feel about stuff. And Arcane is...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Arcane is like incredibly important to a lot of people, so I'm trying to make sure I'm finalized on a lot of perspectives before I say them in case I fucking make people lose their mind.
I know that's part of the reason I wanted to be so harsh is because I expect more from this season in terms of certain aspects, like the pacing, and you mentioned the Jinx and Echo scene. If you've played the game, then you understand how genius that scene is. And if you haven't played the game, you can still appreciate it within the scene for the context that we have with the characters.
Yeah, it runs on like 5 layers instead of 6.
Yes. And with these new music videos, it just depends on, are they achieving the same amount? Are they just doing it to show off their visual style? Or is there actual benefit we're getting from? Like, one of the ones I saw was showing basically Vi and the crew going through the Undercity and all the pipes and the stuff that they went through. Is basically summarizing the first part of their journey. And I was like, man, I would have liked to see that and actually see the discussion that was going on there. And we would have got more of a discussion on the gas and basically the tactics that they use when they go down. And I think there's sometimes just creating a missed opportunity with all the music videos. Like, I just, some are effective, some are a bit like, I don't even want to call them pretentious, but it just seems like they're more concerned with showing off than actually doing the storytelling. And I came here for the story, not the visuals. So that's part of the reason I'm very harsh on it.
I do wonder about this question here, right? So the gas, that's the gray they call that in the show, right?
Me and Metal were arguing about that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, it seems like Jinx breathes in it, and it doesn't really do much apart from make her cough, but she's otherwise able to withstand it. But other people just kind of keel over and pass out from it. So I guess they're kind of curious, like, how does it affect different people?
You have to remember, she's a shimmer like being. She's been infused. She's like a super soldier
right
now.
Okay.
But the fact that she inhaled it and it didn't kill her, and the fact that we got the line from Vi saying that it was basically used to make sure that we get everybody out so there's no innocent bystanders, that's pretty much all I needed to understand that it's non-toxic gas. Because the idea that Vi would go and like gas her whole Undercity, like, I just don't think I don't see Vi agreeing to that. But if you're treating it like tear gas, then it makes much more sense to me. So it was a bit confusion of like, depending on what the gas is. So I was like, we can only basically go based on what we know about Vi, right? She wouldn't gas her city, so it must be something non-lethal.
It's to like subdue people, I suppose, and make their job easier.
Yeah, and we get a line from her saying that's what it was for. So that kind of filled it in for me.
Yeah.
But without the music video, we could have had a scene of them discussing it, and we would have been able to flesh things out a bit more. It just feels a bit rushed. Like, yeah.
Are they trying to cram too much into this then, potentially? Like, because they made the point of saying, like, we're going to wrap this entire story up within 2 seasons. Like, with what they're trying to do, and like, we're talking about being rushed, like, should they have gone for 3 instead?
It's complicated. Like, I feel like we don't have enough information until the season's over before we can speculate on whether or not they've made a significant mistake or not. And whoever even made that decision, I'm not 100% clear on. Another thing we need to know is what they're planning with like a network of Arcane related shows. I don't know if that's definitively the plan or what that'll look like in 10 years from now. Will we see like 5 different shows running at once? Who knows? Seems to me like Arcane is now turning into, it's going to be the foundation to build a lot more on. For example, Noxus is obviously going to be a significant region, and they're probably going to get their own show. I've heard rumors that they're planning a Demacia series as well.
Ooh, we're getting Ionia?
This is the thing. There's so much potential with the League universe that they could go wherever and however they want. So,
if anyone hasn't seen sorry to cut you off, just the videos I'm referencing, MauLer, the basically were pretty much the precursor for League. The Riot, not the get Jinx one, but all the other cool ones that they made, like showing the promotions and shit. You know, the Riot, the League videos that they made showing you've seen the ones I'm talking about, right?
You're talking about the cinematic cutscenes that they release?
Yes, the cinematic cutscenes that they release. Anyone who's a fan of Arcane can watch those and basically treat them as like hypothetical future seasons, because like you're getting an idea of the other worlds in Arcane, the other factions, and the things you could potentially see in the future. Like, we got a tiny window of this. Arcane is like massive. There's so much more they can do.
There's a question here from David Gannon. Can someone explain how and why there's an Undercity in a world of magic, teleportation, and seemingly endless resources and energy? Well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because there's not endless resources and energy. Like, Hex tech is very much new technology that's just being explored now, and it could potentially fix all of these things, but it's not.
That is the end of Act 1 of Season 1 that Hex tech is created, and they are taking it very slowly and carefully to make sure they don't blow the world up, which is the warnings from Heimerdinger. And we're already seeing the results of not being careful enough with the Arcane and stuff. The interesting thing about this question is a world with magic, teleportation, and seemingly endless resources. I don't know where you got seemingly endless resources from.
Yeah, you're adding
it's not like if we said the Force is magic and therefore there shouldn't be any resource struggles in Star Wars. Like, no. Having magic, having teleportation. Like, I don't want to shit on Arcane for being like introducing such fantastical elements that they can't also have class struggle. There would be, and especially like this gas is from the fishes, right? Which is the idea of like a portion of the city has to deal with like a natural gas that's seeping in, and I think the idea is the Kiramans took control of it, and they have like systems that account for it, and so the when she gets the Kiraman key in Act 1, she's able to manipulate the gas to her will. I think that was it anyway. I need to look over it.
And you mentioned them going over all the risks and the warnings from Heimerdinger and the all the issues that can be happening with magic. Where the fuck is that guy this season? He has been completely flanderized. He's there for like comic relief for some reason. What the fuck? If the whole thing that they had in episode 3, if them using the hex tech can affect the arcane, like literally fundamentally, like the fabric of reality or whatever it was, why the fuck isn't that something that he brought up in season 1 when he was just saying, oh, magic bad, magic bad? He wasn't actually elaborating on why. We understood that he had his history and the things that he had seen, but he never actually brought his case and like to the table. Like he's ruined, in my opinion. How the fuck is he just there, doing nothing when all this is going on? Like he should have so much. We never got to see his reaction to the council dying, and he should be helping now that he's in a position instead of fucking around. I think Heimerdinger is fucking ruined. I don't know what you guys think, but it just depends on your take on that.
I'm not happy with how they've handled Heimerdinger. I miss season 1 Heimerdinger.
Where's season 1 Heimerdinger? He would have so much to say about this. Like, you fucking idiots! I warned you. Where's the "I told you so" scene from Heimerdinger? His character has been completely stripped.
The question is, MauLer, have you lost hope?
I told you I am appropriately mystic.
Cautiously mystic.
I'm harsher, man. I'm being a bit harsher on it, but that's all.
Tell you what, because I kind of have to make this a slightly shorter stream tonight, but I did want to answer a few of the super chats as they were coming in, because there's a lot, but also particularly the member ones, because they tend to vanish whenever we do our catch-up streams. So I want to try and prevent that by answering those ones at least tonight. So if you guys have got a little bit of time, I'd like to do some of them.
Yeah.
That's a yes. Okay. Cool. Deval has joined up as a member of the Fellowship of the Drink, so welcome aboard, sir. Stormbringer's gifted 5 critical drinker memberships, and Ewan Kamiya has gifted 1, so thank you guys. Hermione the Cat's joined up as a new member, so thank you, and also gifted 1, so that was paying it forward. Nice. Ewan Cumbria says, Rachel Zegler makes me glad that I voted the way I did. Nice. Let's see, where's the next one? Snex, who's been a member for 5 months, says, I have an idea for a new horror movie. Any suggestions on who to pitch the plot to? I mean, investors, I suppose? Production companies? It depends what you're doing. Do you want to be the director, the writer, like the producer? Without knowing, I suppose it's a tough one, but yeah, you're going to need someone who can help make that happen. Crady has joined up to the Fellowship of the Fellowship of the Drink, so welcome aboard. Objectively a Cat, who's been a member for 14 months, says, hail to the open bar. As something of an enthusiast for the career of Hannibal Barca, I was sorry to hear about him getting updated for the modern audience. What is this? Are they doing like a TV show or something about him?
I know they were doing one a long time ago. It was originally talked about with Denzel, but then it disappeared. I never heard anything about it again. But if he's talking about Hannibal Barca from the part of the series, I didn't know they were doing something again. Like, it depends.
See if there's anything coming up. No, there doesn't seem to be anything current. Yeah, there's one. Yeah, the only reference they've got there is the Denzel Washington one, but that's from like last year, so it's been a while. Maybe that is what they were referencing, but that's just kind of in the works. Adiz has been a member for 14 months, so thank you very much. Also, Bill Sotheby, who's been a member for 4 months, says, I fixed Star Wars by doing the Old Republic era. I will do the Mandalorians right this time, and I would do Revan right. Well, that's fair enough. It's a good place to start. And Flav says, would you look at that? A freebie. I missed the shirt drinker. Where might I buy one? You can get that from my Critical Drinker merch store. So, yeah, the modern audience one is there, and it's rein and waiting for you right now. And anyone says, as a Scottish guy, why don't you drink Scotch? Who says I don't? I mean, I'm not going to waste good malt whiskey on a live stream where I'm just necking it like it's Coke. But, you know, I use what I have to hand. But, no, I've already did that one. Yeah. Like proper good whiskey is for sipping and savoring and not just gulping it down to get drunk as possible, as quickly as possible. So you've got to have the right tool for the right job, you know? Go for Broke says, here's a random thought. What's the difference between a dragon and a wyvern?
The legs, right?
Isn't the
legs
smaller?
The overall
wyverns only have
animal is
wings.
smaller.
I think wyverns are like the Return of the King, like the Nazgul.
It's 2 legs versus 4 legs, as far as I know. So, like, wyverns are when the wings are the arms or whatever.
Okay.
Vagar is a dragon. The Nazgul steed is a
the
wyvern.
truth is, it's up to the fucking writer what they define. It's like it's my
different all kinds
Vagar's
of
a
dragons. I like how there's a definition for it, though. That's good. Kevin O'Neill says maybe the real modern audience was the money we lost along the way.
Yeah.
So true. Land Far Away says, when did Hollywood manage to turn lesbians in movies from sexy to obnoxious? Put a chick in it and make her gay used to be a recipe for something else. I know, I think they cast too many ugly chicks in the roles. That's the problem. Reeps says, it has been 4,875 days since the last Song of Ice and Fire book and 986 days since the last Force Awakens video. Come on, MauLer.
You and George is getting fucking.
What'll they do when I release it? They have to.
Well, the timer will get reset, so you'll have like a few weeks at least when they won't be
roll back
hassling
the
you.
clock, start again.
We'll find something else, but yeah, maybe someday. You know, who knows?
Yeah. Elsie Le Pen, a Spaceballs sequel, a reboot to The Naked Gun, and now a new entry in the Scary Movie series. What does the panel think of this new trend of grave robbing classic comedies, and what could possibly be next?
It's shit.
God help us all.
I mean, they've done it with everything else, so.
Just
what is the point in making a comedy now, in current year? Like, what are you allowed to make fun of?
Nothing.
You can't. So you can't be funny.
Not at all.
Yeah, long gone are the days where comedy is like objectively funny. The whole
I mean, who's going to do it?
It's policed too much.
Leslie Nielsen was
What is
in that? Who's going to be starring in it? I mean, they don't have the ability to make it.
What would you guys say is the last funniest movie you watched? Like, and I mean a great funny movie.
Hot Fuzz.
Jesus, 2004.
Like go too. I'm picky on comedies, man. I don't know.
Tropic Thunder?
2008.
Tropic Thunder, I would say. Yeah.
Not in the past decade.
Superbad out. Really like Superbad.
I did laugh a little at Talladega Nights, whenever the hell that was, but that was for like 10 minutes.
Even that was like 2010
Madam
or
Web.
something.
Madam Web.
But like, would you call
answer.
Talladega Nights a great comedy?
Mm-hmm. No.
Okay.
Did you say would I call it a great comedy?
Yeah.
Oh no. No. To me, Tropic Thunder was like.
I was going to say, I'm curious if there's anything more recent than Tropic Thunder, because I would call Tropic Thunder a great comedy. I fucking love that movie.
When did Knocked Up come up? Because I do remember liking that.
2007, I think.
Okay, yeah.
It was late 2000s. I think we could probably. I think if we had to try and pin it down to a decade, the 2000s was probably the last decade where you were having great comedy movies get made.
Yeah.
I just don't think they can do it now.
Borderlands.
Jesus Christ, man. For actual comedies, not things like Boba Fett, like Madam Web, like it's hard to say. Like in the last 10 years, it's really been worth remembering.
It's just interesting to know it really might be that was the last one.
Super Troopers was fantastic, but that was like 2004. or something. Like that's really old. But yeah, I mean, it's.
I think it's only.
That was the same year. Let's drop it.
I think it's gonna take one truly great comedy can just kick in the door for everybody. But like, we're allowed to tell jokes again, and just that's all it takes. I think it can change real quick.
When would be nice.
World's End?
The World's End, was that 2007?
Hold on.
Because I like that.
No, 13. Sorry. Oh wow. Wait, I think I got Hot Fuzz wrong then as well. Did I? Or I'm misremembering.
Yeah, Hot Fuzz seems later than 2004.
Yeah,
I
so
think that's
World's
like
End
2008 or 9.
World's End was 2013.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that one's controversial to call a great comedy. Everyone's split on World's End, aren't they?
I mean, it's definitely good, but it's like, is it like an all-time classic?
I love it, but
possibly not.
I'm not sure if I'm not sure if I would call it a great comedy. I'm really thinking of the top, you know.
Do you count Deadpool as a comedy?
Probably. Oh, sure, as a comedy, but not like a great comedy. Like I really want to keep that club exclusive to the.
Well, then Tropic Thunder is the last one. I can't think of anything that could top that sentence.
Yeah,
unless you got a television. But...
You know what's really sad? Like at least we got to experience all these good comedies, like, and actually experience them when they came out for the most part. But yeah, like there's going to be a whole generation that kind of grows up in a world that doesn't really have comedy that's funny.
They don't laugh at all. That's the problem.
And they're gonna look at the older stuff and probably find it too problematic, and they don't want to go near it, and that's just really sad.
Yeah,
that Cocaine Bear that released last year, that was good fun. I enjoyed that actually.
I heard it didn't live up to the premise. Like they didn't really do much with it. I never saw
it. It was quite funny. Like it's not like a great comedy, but that was one which has come out in the last few years, which was a bit, yeah, they did pretty well with it. I think, all things considered.
When was Hangover?
Oh God, that was
2009.
So long ago now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
2009. Yeah.
Wow. It's been.
John David Sullivan says, "Hi, Drinker and MauLer. Just to say, Neil Marshall can't secure the rights to Dog Soldiers 2, but he's confirmed another werewolf flick. Can't wait. Sausages."
Yeah, we don't have enough werewolves in media. We need more.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be like the weird, like young adult version that we get for like so many movies. But with Dog Soldiers, they already did a sequel, didn't they? I thought, was it not like a really shit one that Neil Marshall didn't have any connection to?
Did they?
Wasn't called Fresh Meat or something? Hold on, unless I'm misremembering this.
I think that's something which that's like a fan made thing. I don't know if they've ever actually made it.
Oh, I apologize. No, it was the planned sequel to Dog Soldiers. It was announced way back in 2004, actually. Yeah, I thought maybe it's The Descent I'm getting this mixed up with. Like they did a sequel to The Descent that, again, he worked on the first one. And he didn't really have any control over the sequel, and it like basically just retconned it.
Did you see the second one? Anyone, or you just
didn't want to?
Don't. They gave the girl amnesia from the first movie to get her. They literally just said "fuck it" and just like, we need them back in the hole, guys. We need them back in there. Just give her amnesia. Forget it. It's as stupid as you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, no, he was well shot of that one then. And Filthy Casual says, "I know I'm in the minority, but episodes 7 and 8 of Penguin were finally written, but didn't like the direction that it took things. Really soured me on ever rewatching it." I mean,
rewatch it right now.
I don't know what to say, except like, Oz isn't a good guy, and like that's really what those episodes are about, teaching you. I think like tonally, I think it fit perfectly with what the show was about.
I think you're right. I think though a lot of people that I've read online and seen some reviews, they seem to have gotten the wrong impression. They're like, "Hey, I was loving Oz. What happened?" Like it twisted their world. There were a lot of people. They felt empathy for him, they sympathy for him. They had grown accustomed to this kind of like, they put him in an anti-hero role instead of a villain. I'm like, he's a villain, dude.
They get attached to this version of the character, and they're not really paying attention to the components that build it up. So when it happens, you're supposed to be shocked, but then you immediately be like, "Oh yes, this does make sense." That's character writing. Even as shocking as it was to see Victor get literally strangled to death in front of me after everything he's done, how good of a person he's been, that's what Oz would do. Like that's what Oz would do. The second he said we're family, I was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. I would like to know because I've read Batman in the comic spheres. I just don't recall. I haven't remember in depth how Penguin was. Was he like this hardcore? I don't recall him being that way. Does anybody know?
I wouldn't be able to tell you, mate. Not an expert on that.
Breaking Bad had the same thing with Walt. A lot of the times, if you guys remember the Jane scene, like that was one of the moments where you kind of just, ooh, okay, he's going down the road I can't really follow. But it all is in line with his character, and as people like, it's I don't know, it's strange. People's this vision, this certain narrative they have about a character, and it doesn't actually apply to the things that they do, and then they get upset during the payoffs. Strange.
Yeah, and Andre Mogosan says, I knew Arcane will have a good season 2 as I watch Bridging the Rift. The one thing I'm curious about is where they will take us in the world of Runeterra now. So many places, characters, stories, so much to explore, and a great setup for the MauLer.
MMORPG.
I'm not saying all that. It's a MauLer. MauLer. Okay.
How is that better?
Rolls off the tongue easier.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't pretend to know too much about the actual game online, but yeah, I would imagine it's there's a lot of things that seem to be hinted at in this world. Like there's hints of like a much bigger world beyond just Piltover. And so, yeah, potentially you could take it into like all different kinds of nations and factions and stuff that we've not seen too much of yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you those videos. They're really quick, but it's kind of like watching a trailer for hypothetical seasons in the future because you can see some of the other characters. It's basically those videos. I watched those years ago, thinking, man, they could probably make a show for this. And then Arcane came out, so they like arguably inspired the show. So it'd be really cool to check them out. I wish I could remember the name, so I could like help me out, MauLer. The League Cinematic something. There's several they made, but they're all pretty entertaining. The League Cinematics.
If
you can find them on YouTube.
You'll get a whole playlist full of them, but there's shit tons of them, and
you can literally watch them before bed, and they're fun. Yeah, they're really cool.
A lot of them are very music video-y as well. Like that's clearly a route they were going, and I'm pretty sure it's all the success of those that gave them like the jump to try making the show. Which yeah, I mean, you know, it worked out, and if they're as good as Arcane Season 1, then I would love to see them do everything across all of it.
Yeah. I think probably I'll have to finish it up there. As I mentioned at the beginning, I've got to catch a flight to Grand Rapids tomorrow quite early, so sadly I'm going to have to try and get a few hours sleep beforehand. But I do want to say to my panel, thank you, gentlemen, for coming on tonight. I appreciate it. George, I'm sorry that we left you behind for like a little while before we got you on.
No problem.
Genuinely apologize.
A lot of fun.
Clearly, I'm still getting back into the swing of things for taking a couple of years off open bar. So next time we do it, I'll be okay.
Right.
But yeah, tonight, everyone, thank you for all the super chats that you sent in and for joining us in chat. You guys have been awesome as always. And thank you to my mods for all the great work that you do. And as we always do, we will catch up on the super chats that we have left behind. We might be a couple of days later because I won't be back in the UK until Wednesday, I think. So, yeah, as soon as I'm back, MauLer and I will catch up on the supers that we couldn't do tonight. But for tonight, that is all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye.
Cheers.